After Christmas dinner, I checked my phone and saw that my credit card had been charged for all the gifts. Dad looked at me and said, "We took a vote. You don't have kids, so you should pay for the ones who do." My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone and told him, "Then you're really going to enjoy what's coming next." He laughed, like I was joking. But the next day, my phone blew up, 53 missed calls. Cousins yelling. Mom crying. And Dad, actually begging me to stop. But by then, it was too late. Earlier at dinner, I had glanced at my phone under the table and froze. A charge of $13,642 had just gone through on my card. At first, I thought it was a mistake, but then I saw the details: department stores, toy stores, online gift shops, all the Christmas presents. "Who did this?" I asked softly, my voice cutting through the noise of wrapping paper and cheesy holiday music. Dad looked up from his wine like nothing had happened. "We voted," he said calmly. "You don't have kids. We all do. So we thought it was fair if you covered the gifts for the little ones." I blinked. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He explained it like it was just common sense. I looked around the table. Mom looked down at her food. My sister acted like she didn't hear, her twins tearing into Lego sets I apparently paid for. Cousin Jeff gave me a look like, "Yeah, it's messed up, but what can you do? You used my card without asking?" I said. "You decided I'd pay for everything just because I'm single?" Mom mumbled, "You always say you like helping." Helping? I almost laughed. Helping is when I offer. This was planned behind my back. "Don't be so dramatic," Dad said. "It's just money. You have plenty." My heart was pounding. I looked around the table, 12 people, half of whom don't talk to me unless they need something. They had all quietly agreed that I should fund their Christmas. "Unbelievable," I said, standing up. "Sit down," one cousin snapped. "Don't ruin the mood. The kids are having fun." "Oh, I'm not ruining the mood," I said, pulling out my phone. "I'm ending the whole show." Dad raised an eyebrow. "What's that supposed to mean?" I looked him dead in the eye. "It means you're going to love what happens next." He laughed. He thought I was bluffing. But he wasn't laughing the next day. Because by then, I had already hit send. There was no going back. People think realizing your family only sees you as a walking wallet happens all at once, but it doesn't. It happens slowly, like a leak under the floor. You only see the damage when the whole thing falls apart. It had been building for years. After college, I got a decent job in tech. Nothing crazy, just stable work with a regular paycheck. My sister had a baby at 23 and moved back home. My cousin dropped out of school to figure things out. For years, my parents told me everyone was just going through a tough time. And me? I was the one who had it all together. "You're doing well. You don't need much. You're lucky, you should share that luck," my mom used to say. My aunt once said that while taking a rent check from me, for her adult son. At first, it was small things: buying school supplies, giving someone gas money, pitching in for a birthday gift I never agreed to. But then it became non-stop. I paid my brother's rent for 6 months when he lost his job. I funded my cousin's small business that never took off. I paid Uncle Greg's medical bills when he didn't have insurance. I didn't complain. I thought, this is what family does. But families shouldn't drain you dry and call it kindness. They took, and I let them. And the worst part, they acted like they were doing me a favor. You get to feel good for helping. Your name's on the group card, that's special. Don't be so uptight. We're family. No one ever said thank you. It wasn't just about money. It was time, energy, emotional effort. I was the default babysitter, the emergency contact, the backup plan. One Christmas Eve, I got the flu and told Mom I couldn't come. She texted back, "Okay, but can you still send the gifts? The kids are counting on you." I remember sitting on my bathroom floor, sick, and thinking, why do they only remember me when there's a price tag attached? The moment it really hit me, the moment everything started to change. It was 3 months before that Christmas dinner, when I took my niece to a bookstore and told her to pick out anything she wanted. I spent $150 that day. My niece walked out with art supplies, hardcover books, and a giant stuffed sloth she named Slumpy. She was over the moon. And I was happy until I dropped her off. "Where's Slumpy from?" my sister asked. I smiled. "We picked it out together today." She frowned. "You're spoiling her. You think you're the fun uncle just because you have money." I blinked. "What?" She rolled her eyes. "Maybe try spending less on toys and more on getting a personality." That hit me like a slap. I had just spent my whole weekend with her kid, time I could have used to rest, go on a date, or do anything else. And instead of a thank you, I got insulted. Like being generous made me a joke. That was the moment I saw it all clearly. Not her mask slipping, mine. I stopped pretending they cared. I saw them for what they really were, people who only knew how to take. Experts in guilt trips. They didn't respect me. Honestly, I don't even think they liked me. To them, I wasn't family, I was their bank account. Then December rolled around. Christmas planning started in the family group chat around mid-November. Of course, they wanted me to host. Again, buy gifts for all the kids. Again, play Santa with a credit card. Again. This year, I was ready to say no. I really thought I would. But then Dad texted me directly. "You're good at this stuff. Why don't you just handle all the gifts again? We'll settle up later." Funny thing is, no one ever settled up. Not last year, not the year before. So I replied, short and sharp. "Only if we agree in advance who's paying." He read it, never replied. 3 weeks went by. I figured maybe they'd taken the hint. I was wrong. Because they used my backup card instead. A card I gave Mom years ago, just in case of emergency. She still had the info, and apparently, she'd shared it. The statement showed charges from 5 different stores, not even near her home. She didn't buy a thing, they did. And when I brought it up at dinner, they laughed. Laughed. Dad actually said, "We voted, you don't have kids, so you should pay for the ones who do." Like it made sense, like it was fair, like I didn't get a say. And I realized they really believed that. They thought that because I don't have kids, I owed them something, that my time, my peace, my money didn't matter as much. When I stood up and said, "You're going to love what comes next," they didn't even blink. Dad laughed. Because to them, I was bluffing. I always had been. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from guilt, not anymore. But I wasn't at peace yet, either. I lay there, thinking about every insult, every time they made me feel like I didn't measure up because I didn't have their chaos, their kids, their debt. Like that made them better. And me, disposable. But when the sun came up and lit my ceiling with soft orange light, I felt something shift. No more doubt, no more hesitating. Not just anger, clarity. If they wanted to play democracy, fine. Time to cast my vote. I opened my laptop and wrote. Subject, holiday contribution changes, body. Starting now, I will no longer be providing any financial support to the extended family. That includes Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, for kids or adults, school tuition, rent help, emergency Venmo requests, car repairs, vet bills, or streaming subscriptions. If you've already used my cards, expect a chargeback. If you've saved or shared my card info without permission, expect legal action. You voted. Now I'm voting back. Merry Christmas. The childless one. And I hit send. To everyone. My parents, my sister, 6 cousins, even my aunt, who still thinks I owe her because she babysat me once when I was 4. Then I turned off my phone. It took them 7 hours and 16 minutes to break. When I turned my phone back on, it blew up in my hand. 53 missed calls. Texts from everyone. Voicemails from crying relatives. Cousins threatening to sue me for emotional harm. Mom left a message that started with "I'm heartbroken," and ended with "You've really let us down." Dad called 12 times. The last voicemail was just one line. "Please, for the love of God, don't do this." But it was already done. Because when they finally realized what a chargeback meant, I had already called the bank. The fraud claim had gone through. Over $3,600 in charges were flagged. The Barbie houses? On hold. The Nerf guns? Cancelled. The iPads and boxes under the tree? Returned. I froze the emergency card. Later that night, My cousin Sarah tried to use it to book a hotel. It declined, twice. And all hell broke loose. The next day, my uncle called me. He's one of the only ones who never asked me for money, but he also never stood up when others did. His voice was quiet, almost embarrassed. Your mom's crying. She says you ruined Christmas. I didn't even blink. No, I said. They ruined it when they turned it into a transaction. He sighed. They were just overwhelmed. No, I interrupted. They were entitled. There's a difference. There was a long pause. You really went through with the chargebacks? I already did. Another pause. Well, I can't say they didn't deserve it. Then he hung up. That was the last calm message I got for a while. 3 days later, I came home from work and found them waiting on my porch. Mom, Dad, and my sister Rachel, arms crossed, face full of disgust. Can we talk? Mom asked, voice shaking. I opened the door just enough. Say what you came to say. We didn't mean for things to go this way, she said quickly. We just thought. What? I cut in. That I'd shut up and pay again? That I'd smile and say, sure, rob me blind, but let's do it with eggnog? Dad tried to calm things down. Let's not turn this into a war. We're family. I laughed, loud. You started the war the moment you used my card and called it voting. That wasn't family. That was betrayal. Rachel rolled her eyes. Oh my God. Are you still going on about this? We didn't drain your whole bank account. I paid for your car last summer. I snapped. Because you couldn't drive with a cracked windshield. You said you'd pay me back. She scoffed. You make 6 figures. You'll be fine. And that, right there, was the final straw. That's exactly why I'm done. To you all, I'm not a person. I'm a wallet that sometimes brings food. Mom started crying. We just wanted the kids to have a good Christmas. So you stole from me? Dad stepped forward. That's enough. Fix this. Undo the chargebacks. Now. I said nothing, just stared at him. So he changed tactics. Think about how this looks, he said, voice dark. Do you really want people saying you betrayed your family over some toys? Still no blink, just calm. No, I said. I want people to say I finally stood up for myself. Then I said the words that shut them all up. I'm done with all of you. I've blocked your numbers. And this weekend, I'm moving out of state, alone. They were stunned. I opened the door. Now get off my porch. The next 2 days, quiet. No calls, no guilt-tripping texts, no family check-ins pretending to be kind. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I sat on the floor with coffee and music, realizing I didn't owe anyone anything anymore. Nobody expected me to fix their mess or save the day. It was peaceful. But I knew my family, they wouldn't let go that easily. On day 3, they started crawling back with manipulation. Maybe we should talk like adults. Your mom's sick from stress. Happy now? The kids keep asking why Uncle Ghost doesn't call. I saw the texts. I ignored them. Because I knew the truth. They didn't miss me. They missed what I gave them. Then something unexpected happened. A message from my cousin Jason. I messed up. Can we talk? I didn't reply. An hour later, he showed up at my door. He looked different, clean, hair brushed, wearing a blazer and a watch. Like he was pretending to be someone responsible. I'm taking online classes, marketing, he said, started working with a friend, I'm really trying. I stayed silent. He looked down. I was jealous of you, he said, you had peace, I didn't, that's why I acted like that. I tilted my head. You here for money? No, he said, I just wanted you to know, I'm not your shadow anymore. He left. 30 minutes later, I got a bank alert. Someone tried to reset my online account. Guess who? Jason. He hadn't changed. He came to test me. To see if I still believed their lies. I locked everything down, froze the card, alerted my bank again. That was the last time anyone in my family got close to my life. Then came freedom. I ended my lease, took a new job in another state. More money, new apartment. No family within 400 miles. But the best part? A message from Jason's wife, Kelly. I saw what he did. I'm filing for divorce. And thank you. You were the only one who ever helped. That hit harder than I expected. She knew. She always knew. But she stayed quiet, until now. And suddenly I understood something. Maybe choosing myself gave someone else the courage to choose themselves too. Before I left town, I sent one final message to the family group chat. I renamed it. This bank has permanently closed. Try loving instead. Then I hit leave chat. As I drove away, my car full of boxes and music playing loud, I smiled. I was alone. And for the first time, it felt like peace. Not punishment. Freedom. It's funny how quiet life gets when you stop talking to people who never really listen to you. After I moved to a new state, changed my number, and blocked every one of them, the silence wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. No more texts asking, "Can you cover rent just this once?" No more guilt wrapped in fake concern. No more phone calls from people who only showed up when their bills did. They were gone. Not just out of sight, cut off completely. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't tied to anyone else's survival. And for the first time, I was surviving on my own terms. I got a new apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. My rules, my budget. My fridge only had things I liked. That first night, I turned on Do Not Disturb. Not because I thought someone would call, but because I knew no one would. And that felt amazing. There's a kind of healing that happens in real quiet, when you don't have to explain yourself. When no one's testing your boundaries. When you finally stop asking yourself, am I being too harsh? You're not. You're being free. Of course, they tried to sneak back in. New numbers, blocked. Voicemails, deleted. Even a burner Instagram account that messaged me, "Come home, we're family, enough is enough." I actually laughed. Enough is enough? That's what I said when they voted to steal from me and laughed in my face. That's what I said when my dad told me I should give more, because I didn't have kids. That's what I said when my brother tried to hack my bank account again. But now, enough isn't a request. It's a line they'll never cross again. I started therapy. Told my therapist the whole story. She didn't look shocked, just nodded and said, "You were taught that love has to be earned by giving things up." That sentence stayed with me. Because that's exactly how it felt. They made me believe that if I didn't give money, time, help, I wasn't worth anything. That if I didn't pay, I didn't belong. That love was a trade. But that's not love. That's control. And I got out. People ask me now, "Do you regret cutting them off?" Not even close. I only regret not doing it sooner. I regret all the birthday parties I paid for and wasn't even invited to. I regret every plan I canceled to help someone with their electric bill. I regret remembering every cousin's kid's birthday, while they forgot mine, every year. I regret letting them convince me I was the selfish one. But now, I don't flinch. They made their choice when they decided I was useful, not loved. They voted. And now, so did I. Unanimous, cut off. Here's the part they didn't see coming. I'm doing better than ever. I got promoted. I started traveling. I'm dating someone who doesn't want anything from me but truth and time. I picked up photography. I'm learning to cook real food, not just scarfing down takeout at midnight while covering someone else's rent. I even adopted a dog. I named her Balance. She's calm, loyal, and only wants love from me. Which is more than I can say about most of my relatives. Just when I thought the story was over, I got a text from a number I didn't know. "He's out, we're getting divorced. I wanted you to know." It was Kelly, Jason's ex-wife. She finally left him. Turns out, his changed man act didn't last. He lost his job, got drunk, burned through his money, and tried to use my bank info again. She told me, "You were the only one who ever saw it clearly. I didn't believe you then. I do now." And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about walking away. It was about finally refusing to carry the lie. Sometimes, when you leave, you don't just save yourself. You help someone else finally see the truth too. I didn't lose a family. I escaped a scam. So now, when people ask me, "What happened with your family?" I just smile. And I say, I used to be the one who paid for Christmas. Now, I'm the one who saved myself from it.
The notification from my banking app made my stomach drop. I blinked hard, hoping the numbers would somehow rearrange themselves into something that made sense. They didn't. $250,000 gone. I'm Tori, and until that moment, I thought I had my life figured out. 20 years of marriage, 2 teenagers, and a successful career as a business consultant. I'd spent years building that safety net dollar by dollar, client by client. Now it had vanished without a trace. "Stephen," I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. "Can you come here for a minute?" My husband appeared in the doorway of our kitchen, already dressed for court in his crisp navy suit. "What's up, honey? I've got a meeting in 30. There must be some mistake with the bank. I held up my phone. The joint savings account. It's practically empty. Stephen's face didn't register surprise. Instead, he smiled. That same smile he used when explaining complex legal terms to clients. "Oh, that. I was going to tell you over breakfast. I made an investment." "An investment?" The word felt wrong in my mouth. "Remember Piper, the young entrepreneur I mentioned? She's opening this amazing boutique downtown. The business plan is solid. We'll double our money within a year." The room started spinning. Piper, he'd mentioned her exactly twice before, both times in passing, both times with that slight catch in his voice I'd chosen to ignore. "You invested our savings without discussing it with me?" "Our savings?" He laughed, actually laughed. "Come on, Tori, you're overreacting. I know what I'm doing. I'm a lawyer, remember?" The casual dismissal in his voice made something snap inside me. But instead of screaming like I wanted to, I forced myself to smile. "You're right. I'm sure you've thought this through." Stephen checked his Rolex. "I need to run. We'll talk more tonight?" I nodded, watching him gather his briefcase. As he headed toward the garage, his phone buzzed. He answered it in the hallway, voice low but not quite low enough. "Hey, beautiful." "Yes, it's all taken care of. Don't worry about Tori, she's fine with it. Listen, I'll stop by the boutique later." My hands gripped the kitchen counter until my knuckles turned white. The granite felt cool against my palms, grounding me as my world tilted on its axis. Sophia, my 15-year-old daughter, wandered in wearing her soccer uniform. "Mom, you okay? You look weird." "I'm fine, sweetie." I straightened up, reaching for the coffee pot with trembling hands. "Just work stuff." "Dad left already?" "Important meeting." The words tasted bitter. "He's been having a lot of those lately," Sophia muttered, grabbing an apple from the fruit bowl. Jeremy, my son, thundered down the stairs next, headphones around his neck. "Mom, I need money for the field trip." "Ask your father," I said, surprising myself with the edge in my voice. He's apparently making all the financial decisions these days. Both kids stared at me. I never talked about money issues in front of them. "Mom?" Sophia's voice was careful. "What's going on?" I forced another smile. "Nothing, honey. Just stressed about work. You'll both miss your bus if you don't leave now." After they left, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. The banking app was still open, mocking me with its numbers. 20 years of marriage, and I'd never once questioned Stephen's loyalty. Now every business dinner, every late night at the office, every casual mention of networking events seemed suspect. My phone buzzed. A text from Hazel, my best friend. "Coffee today? You look like you need it." I hadn't posted anything online, hadn't called anyone, but Hazel had this sixth sense about these things. She'd known something was wrong with her ex-husband months before discovering his affair. An affair? The word I'd been avoiding floated to the surface of my mind. I typed back, "Usual place, noon. I need your advice." Then I opened my laptop and pulled up my consulting files. If Stephen thought I would just roll over and accept this, he didn't know me at all. I'd built my career helping businesses identify their weaknesses and strengthen their foundations. Now I would use those same skills to understand exactly what my husband had done. My phone buzzed again, an email notification. A boutique downtown was requesting consulting services. The owner's name made my blood run cold. Piper Riley. I clicked delete, but my finger hesitated over the screen. Maybe this was exactly the opening I needed. My husband had taught me one thing over his years as a lawyer. Sometimes the best defense is a carefully planned offense. I clicked open instead of delete, a plan already forming in my mind. Two could play at this game of secrets and lies. He did what? Hazel nearly knocked over her latte. We were tucked away in the corner of our favorite coffee shop, far from the usual business crowd. 250,000. Just gone. I wrapped my hands around my untouched coffee. And he acted like it was nothing, like I was being unreasonable for questioning it. That's not just financial abuse, Tori. That's straight-up theft. Hazel leaned forward, her voice dropping. Tell me you're not letting him get away with this. I'm not. But I need to be smart about it. I pulled out my tablet, showing her what I'd discovered. Look at these business registrations. The boutique was incorporated 3 months ago, but there are 2 other LLCs created around the same time. Shell companies? Maybe. But here's the interesting part. Piper's name isn't on any of them. Only Stephen's. Hazel's eyes narrowed. He's protecting himself, making sure she can't take control. Exactly, and look at this. I swiped to another document. The lease agreement for the boutique space. The monthly rent is triple the market rate for that area. Let me guess, the building owner is one of those LLCs? I nodded. Stephen's basically paying himself with my money. That sneaky bastard. Hazel grabbed my hand. You need a lawyer, Tori, a good one. Not yet. The moment I get legal involved, he'll know I'm onto him. He'll hide everything deeper. My phone buzzed. Another email from Piper. 3rd one this week. Hazel noticed my expression. What is it? The mistress keeps reaching out, wants to hire me as a consultant. Delete it. I did, twice, but I hesitated. What if that's my way in? Tori, no, that's crazy. Is it? Stephen's playing both sides. Maybe I should too. Before Hazel could respond, my phone rang. Sophia's face appeared on the screen. Hi, sweetie. Everything okay? Mom? Her voice was shaky. I just saw Dad, downtown. He was with some woman. My heart stopped. Where? Outside that new boutique near the courthouse. They were hugging. Mom, what's going on? I caught Hazel's concerned look. Sophia, listen to me. Go straight home after practice. We'll talk then, okay? After hanging up, I slumped in my chair. My daughter shouldn't have to see this. Then end it, Hazel said firmly. Confront him. Not yet. I straightened up, opening my email. First, I need to understand exactly what I'm dealing with. I clicked reply to Piper's latest message. Available for a consultation tomorrow. 2 p.m. Hazel grabbed my wrist. Think about what you're doing. I am. For the first time in 20 years, I'm thinking like Stephen would. That evening, I walked into a silent house. Jeremy was at basketball practice, but Sophia sat at the kitchen counter, homework spread out but untouched. Hey, Mom. She didn't look up. Remember when you said we could always talk about anything? I set down my bag. Of course. Is Dad having an affair? The directness of her question knocked the wind out of me. I sat beside her, choosing my words carefully. What makes you think that? The woman I saw him with, she's young, pretty, and he wasn't acting like it was just business. Sophia finally met my eyes. Plus, you've been different since yesterday, after you saw something on your phone. My brilliant, observant daughter, I couldn't lie to her. I'm handling it, I said finally. But I need you to trust me, okay? And maybe don't mention what you saw to your brother yet. Sophia nodded slowly. Are you going to divorce him? I don't know yet, but whatever happens, you and Jeremy are my priority. My phone buzzed. Piper's response. Thank you for considering my request. There's more to this situation than you know. Please let me explain tomorrow. Sophia noticed my expression. Mom, what are you planning? Nothing illegal. I managed a small smile. Just protecting what's ours. Later that night, after the kids were in bed, I sat in my home office, reviewing everything I'd gathered. Business records, bank statements, property documents. Stephen had been methodical, but he'd made one crucial mistake. He'd underestimated me. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Diaz, it's Piper. I know you hate me, but please don't cancel tomorrow. I can help you get your money back. Stephen's been lying to both of us. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. 2 p.m. Don't be late. Whatever game Stephen was playing, he'd just lost control of one of his pieces. And tomorrow, I'd find out exactly how many other pieces were ready to turn against him. I chose a quiet cafe 3 towns over for my meeting with Piper. As I watched her walk in, I understood what Sophia meant by young and pretty. She couldn't have been more than 31, with the kind of confidence that came from never having your dreams crushed. Until now, apparently. Mrs. Diaz, Tori, she corrected herself, sliding into the seat across from me. Thank you for meeting me. Let's be clear, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'm here as a business consultant, nothing more. Piper nodded, pulling out a folder. I need you to see these first. She spread out several documents. Stephen told me the boutique investment came from his personal accounts. I never knew. I never thought that it was my money. My coffee cup clinked sharply against its saucer. That it was stolen. Her eyes met mine. I thought he believed in my business. Instead, he's been using it to launder money from his other clients. That got my attention. What other clients? Real estate developers mostly. The boutique's just a front. Those inflated lease payments, they're going to offshore accounts. She pushed a USB drive across the table. Everything's here. Account numbers, transfer records, emails. I stared at the drive. Why are you showing me this? Because he's going to pin everything on me when it falls apart. Her hands trembled slightly. I'm the perfect scapegoat, the young, ambitious mistress who seduced him into making bad investments. And you expect me to help you? I expect you to help yourself. Piper leaned forward. Your name's on those joint accounts he emptied. When the FBI starts investigating financial fraud, you'll be implicated too. My blood ran cold. The FBI? It's only a matter of time. One of his clients is already asking questions. She glanced around nervously. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Tori. I'm offering you a chance to protect yourself and your kids. By doing what, exactly? Let me hire you. Officially. You'll have legitimate access to all the boutique's records. We'll document everything. Build a paper trail showing you were brought in to clean up the mess after discovering irregularities. I laughed bitterly. You've thought this through. I had to. Stephen's not who either of us thought he was. Piper's voice cracked. Last week I found out I'm pregnant. The words hit me like a physical blow. Does he know? She shook her head. I was going to tell him, but then I found these documents. He's been playing both of us, Tori, and I refuse to let my child's father be a man who could do this. I studied her face, looking for any sign of manipulation. All I saw was fear, the same fear I'd been fighting since that bank notification. If we do this, I said slowly, we do it my way. No shortcuts, no games. Agreed. And you'll sign a contract giving me complete oversight of the boutique's finances. Piper nodded quickly. Already drawn up. My lawyer approved it this morning. Your lawyer? A woman Stephen would never suspect. She specializes in helping abuse victims protect their assets. Smart girl. Maybe that's what Stephen had seen in her. Not just youth and beauty, but intelligence he could exploit. One more thing, I added. Everything we discuss stays between us. My children can't know about. I gestured vaguely at her midsection. Of course. Piper touched her stomach unconsciously. I never wanted to hurt your family, Tori. I know that sounds ridiculous, but save it. I held up my hand. We're not friends. We're not going to be friends. We're two women who got conned by the same man, working together to protect ourselves. That's all. She nodded, relief visible on her face. When can you start? I pulled out my laptop. Right now. Show me everything. For the next 2 hours, Piper walked me through Stephen's elaborate scheme. The boutique was actually doing well. Her business instincts were solid, but Stephen had built a complex web of fake vendors and inflated expenses around it. My money hadn't gone into inventory or renovations. It had vanished into his network of shell companies. One last question, I said as we wrapped up. Why didn't you go directly to the authorities? Piper's hand drifted to her stomach again. Because I wanted a chance to make this right first, for all of us. As I drove home, my mind raced with possibilities. With access to the boutique's books and Piper's cooperation, I could track every dollar Stephen had stolen. But more importantly, I could start moving pieces into position for what came next. My phone rang. Stephen's face appearing on the screen. Hey, honey, he said when I answered. Great news. That investment I told you about? Already showing returns. How about I take you out tonight to celebrate? I smiled into the phone, thinking of the USB drive in my purse. Actually, I have some exciting news too. Let's definitely celebrate. Sometimes the best revenge starts with a single, simple lie. The boutique's third quarter projections are exceeding expectations, I explained to Stephen over dinner at his favorite steakhouse. Piper's actually quite talented at merchandising. Stephen's fork paused halfway to his mouth. You've been working with Piper? Of course. I took a sip of wine. When she reached out for consulting, I saw an opportunity to protect our investment. That's okay, right? Yes, of course. He recovered quickly, flashing that practiced lawyer smile. I'm glad you're taking an interest. The numbers don't lie. I pulled out my tablet, showing him the carefully curated reports. We could double the initial investment by year's end. Stephen relaxed visibly, pride creeping into his voice. I told you it was a smart move. You should trust my judgment more often. Oh, I'm learning to trust all sorts of things lately. Before he could process the edge in my voice, Jeremy stormed up to our table, his server's apron askew. You said you'd be at my game tonight, he accused Stephen. Coach was gonna start me. Stephen checked his watch. Sorry, sport, got caught up at work. Next time? Whatever. Jeremy turned away. Mom, I'm taking my break now. I found him in the employee break room, angrily punching at his phone. He's been caught up at work for every game this season, Jeremy muttered. I know, honey. I sat beside him. Things are complicated right now. Are you guys getting divorced? The question hung in the air. Why would you think that? Sophia said she saw Dad with some woman, and you're acting weird, like scary calm weird. I chose my next words carefully. Your father and I are working through some things. But whatever happens, it won't change how much we love you and Sophia. I'm not a kid anymore, Mom. Just tell me the truth. The truth is complicated. Give me time to sort it out, okay? Jeremy's phone buzzed, a text from Sophia. Dad's girlfriend is at the boutique again, the one I told you about. I caught a glimpse before he quickly locked his screen. Jeremy. Sophia's been keeping tabs. he admitted. We're not stupid, Mom. My children playing detective. I wasn't sure whether to be proud or heartbroken. Back at the table, Stephen was on his phone, frowning. Piper says the store's computer system crashed. I should go check. Already handled, I interrupted smoothly. I set up new accounting software last week. Everything's backed up. His frown deepened. You didn't mention that? Didn't I? Must have slipped my mind. Like how you forgot to mention the third LLC registered under your name. Stephen's knuckles whitened around his wine glass. That's just standard business structure. Of course, I smiled. More wine? Later that night, I met Hazel at our regular spot, the 24-hour diner where we'd weathered countless crises over the years. You're playing a dangerous game, she warned, stirring her coffee. What if he catches on? He won't. His ego won't let him see it. I showed her the latest financial reports. Look how proud he is, showing off his successful investment. He's even bragging to his law partners. And Piper, you sure she won't turn on you? She has more to lose than I do. I hadn't told Hazel about the pregnancy. Some secrets weren't mine to share. My phone lit up with a text from Piper. Stephen's here, asking about the new software. What should I say? I typed back, stick to the script, act confused, let him think he's in control. Hazel read over my shoulder. You're starting to enjoy this, aren't you? Enjoying? No. I put my phone away, but I'm done being the trusting wife who looks the other way. The kids know something's up. They're safer knowing part of the truth than none of it. I pushed my untouched pie away. Jeremy asked about divorce tonight. And I'm not ready to answer that question yet. First, I need to secure our future. Hazel reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Just be careful. Men like Stephen don't lose gracefully. Neither do I. I stood up, dropping cash on the table. I have a meeting tomorrow with someone from the SEC, anonymously, of course. The Securities and Exchange Commission? Tori, that's insurance. I pulled on my coat. Everything has to be done by the book. No shortcuts, no mistakes he can use against us later. Driving home, I passed the boutique. The lights were still on, Stephen's car parked out front. Once, that sight would have broken me. Now, it just strengthened my resolve. My phone buzzed with another text from Piper. He bought the Confusion Act, but he's asking more questions. We need to move faster. Patience, I wrote back. The best traps are the ones they walk into willingly, and Stephen was already halfway through the door. Your analysis of our market expansion potential is impressive, Tori, Gerard said, leaning back in his leather chair. As one of the city's most influential business figures, his corner office overlooked the same downtown street where Piper's boutique sat. The numbers speak for themselves, I replied, clicking through my presentation. The boutique's growth could support 3 new locations by spring. And your husband's comfortable with his wife managing his investment so thoroughly? I met Gerard's knowing look. Stephen trusts my expertise implicitly. Interesting. Gerard tapped his desk. Because my wife mentioned seeing him at LeBlanc last night with a younger companion. Not that it's my business. It's not, I agreed smoothly. But your interest in investing in the boutique's expansion is. Gerard smiled. Direct. I like that. He pulled out a contract. Let's discuss terms. An hour later, I walked through the boutique's front door. Piper was helping a customer, her small baby bump now visible under her flowing dress. Tori, she hurried over. How did it go with Gerard? He's in $3 million in expansion capital, pending due diligence. Piper's eyes widened. That's more than we discussed, because I showed him the real books, not Stephen's creative accounting. I lowered my voice. How are you feeling? Morning sickness is better, but Stephen's getting suspicious about why I won't drink at business dinners. Keep making excuses. We're almost... Mom? Sophia's voice cut through the store. She stood in the doorway, still in her soccer uniform, staring at Piper's stomach. Oh my God! Sophia, wait! But she was already running out. I found her sitting on a bench around the corner, tears streaming down her face. That's her, isn't it? Dad's? And she's... I sat beside her. It's complicated. Stop saying that. Sophia exploded. Nothing's complicated. Dad cheated, got someone pregnant, and you're helping them? Why aren't you screaming or throwing his stuff out or... Because that's not how we win. Sophia wiped her eyes. Win what? Our future. Your college fund. The life we built that your father tried to steal. Understanding dawned in her eyes. The consulting work, the new investors. You're taking control of his investment? Smart girl. I smiled sadly. But this stays between us. Your brother already knows about the baby. Sophia pulled out her phone, showing me a social media post. Piper's sister announced it this morning, tagged her in ultrasound photos. My heart stopped. Does your father follow? No, but his law partner's daughter does. She just shared it. I was already calling Piper. Delete that post. Now, family or not, nothing goes public. I'm trying. Piper sounded panicked. My sister won't answer. Mom? Sophia touched my arm. I want to help. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She had my determination and her father's strategic mind. Maybe it was time to stop protecting her and start trusting her instead. Okay, I said, but we do this my way. That evening, I received an unexpected call from Caden, a rival consultant who'd been circling the boutique's success. Impressive work with Gerard, he said. Dinner tomorrow? Strictly professional, of course. Before I could answer, Stephen walked into my home office. Who's that? Potential investor, I said smoothly, then into the phone. Email me the details. Stephen perched on my desk. You're working late. The boutique's success requires attention. I met his eyes. Speaking of attention, Sophia mentioned seeing you at LeBlanc last night. Business dinner. Of course. I turned back to my laptop. How's Piper feeling these days? She seemed tired this morning. Stephen's pause was microscopic but telling. Wouldn't know. Haven't seen her much. Really? The social media post suggested otherwise. His face remained neutral, but his finger tapped the desk, his tell when lying in court. What post? Oh, never mind. Probably just gossip. I stretched, yawning. I should sleep. Big meeting tomorrow. After he left, Sophia slipped in. Dad's making calls in his study. Sounds angry. Good. I pulled up my email. How's your brother? Furious. Wants to confront Dad. Tell him not yet. I showed her Gerard's investment contract. First, we make sure your father can't touch any of this money. Then what? My phone buzzed. Caden again. Dinner's not just professional. I've admired your work for years, and from what I hear, you might be available soon. Sophia read the text over my shoulder. Mom, are you going to... Focus on one thing at a time, I said, but couldn't help smiling. Right now, we have work to do. Does it make us bad people? Sophia asked quietly. Playing these games? No, honey, I hugged her close. It makes us survivors. You look beautiful, Caden said as I slid into the booth at an upscale restaurant across town. That color suits you. This isn't a date, I reminded him, though I'd spent an hour choosing this dress. We're discussing the boutique's expansion. Of course, he smiled, sliding a folder across the table. But that doesn't mean I can't appreciate how the last month has changed you. You're glowing. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Jeremy, Dad's freaking out. Something about Piper not answering his calls. Everything okay? Caden asked. Family stuff. I typed back quickly. Stay in your room. I'll be home soon. Speaking of family, Caden leaned forward. How are your kids handling everything? Better than I expected. Sophia's become my unofficial assistant. And Jeremy? I paused as another text came through. Sophia. Piper's sister posted another ultrasound pic. Dad saw it. I'm sorry, I said, standing up. I need to go. Let me drive you, Caden offered, already signaling for the check. No, I can't. My phone rang. Stephen. I have to take this. I answered outside the restaurant, Caden hovering concernedly nearby. Where are you? Stephen's voice was cold, controlled. Working late. Why? Come home, now. We need to talk about your new business partnership with Piper. Stephen. And maybe you can explain why my client just congratulated me on becoming a father again. My hands started shaking. Caden stepped closer, mouthing, Are you okay? I'll be home in 20 minutes, I said, and hung up. Let me help, Caden pleaded. You can't. I met his eyes. But thank you for everything. I broke every speed limit getting home. Sophia met me in the driveway. Dad's in his study, she whispered. He's been making calls, drinking. Jeremy locked himself in his room. Go to Hazel's house, I said, handing her my car keys. Take your brother, now. Mom, no. Sophia. I gripped her shoulders. Trust me, please. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I'll get Jeremy. I waited until I heard them leave through the garage before entering Stephen's study. He sat behind his desk, a half-empty whiskey bottle beside him. Interesting investment strategy, he said without looking up, turning my mistress against me. Our investment, I corrected. My money, remember? Money I used to build something successful. He slammed his hand down. And you manipulated everything, got your hooks into Piper, brought in outside investors. Like you manipulated our savings, our marriage. That was different. Was it? I pulled out my phone, playing a recording. Stephen's voice discussing offshore accounts, fake vendors, money laundering. His face went white. You recorded me? No, Piper did, months ago, before she knew what you really were. She wouldn't. She would. Especially after discovering you'd done this before. 3 other women, 3 other investments. All that money flowing through your little network of shell companies. Stephen stood slowly. You have no proof. The SEC disagrees. They're very interested in those recordings, and the documents, and the witness statements. Witnesses? Your last investment partner from 2 years ago? She kept everything. Just needed someone to help her come forward. His lawyer mask cracked. You vindictive bitch. Careful, Stephen. The security camera in here is running. Another thing you taught me. Always protect yourself. Our children are safe at Hazel's, away from whatever scene you're planning to make. He reached for his phone. I'll destroy you. Every client, every contact. Already handled. Gerard's firm is bringing me on as head consultant. Turns out he respects how I handled the boutique situation. Called it masterful asset recovery. Stephen's hands trembled. What do you want? Everything. I placed a document on his desk. Sign over your interest in the boutique, full custody of the kids, a clean divorce. In exchange, I don't send these recordings to the Bar Association. You're bluffing. I pulled up an email draft addressed to the State Ethics Board. Try me. For a moment, I thought he might lunge across the desk. Instead, he grabbed a pen. I never thought you had this in you, he said, signing. That was your mistake. I collected the papers. The kids will collect their things tomorrow. Don't be here. And Piper, the baby? Not your concern anymore. She's found better lawyers than you. I left him there, surrounded by the ruins of his schemes. Outside, Caden waited in his car. The kids? He asked. Safe at Hazel's. I sank into the passenger seat. How did you know to come? Sophia called me. Said you might need backup. I closed my eyes, exhausted. Take me to my children. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, I said. We start rebuilding. The right way this time. As we drove away, I didn't look back at the house where I'd spent 20 years being the perfect wife. Sometimes the best view is through the rearview mirror. The boutique's grand reopening drew quite a crowd. Local business leaders, fashion bloggers, and curious onlookers packed the expanded space. Nobody could resist a good comeback story, especially one with such juicy undertones. Your mother is quite something, Gerard said to Sophia, who was helping at the checkout counter, taking a scandal and turning it into an empire. Sophia beamed. She's teaching me everything she knows. I watched from the new mezzanine level as Piper, now visibly pregnant, guided visitors through the store. She'd found her calling not just in fashion, but in helping other women rebuild their lives. The boutique's back office now housed a small nonprofit offering business training to abuse survivors. Quite a turnout, Caden said, appearing beside me with 2 glasses of champagne. Though I noticed your ex-husband wasn't on the guest list. Stephen's been preoccupied. I accepted the champagne. The Bar Association's ethics investigation is keeping him busy. Mom, Jeremy called from below. Channel 7 wants an interview. Speaking of ethics investigations, Caden nodded toward the reporter setting up her camera. Ready to go public? I straightened my jacket. Truth is good for business, right? The interview started smoothly enough. Yes, the boutique had overcome initial management challenges. Yes, we were proud of our community impact. Then came the question we'd been waiting for. Sources say your ex-husband used your life savings to fund this business for his mistress. Now you're partners with her. How did that happen? I felt Sophia and Jeremy tense beside me. We'd practiced this moment. Sometimes, I said carefully, the greatest betrayals lead to unexpected alliances. This store isn't just about fashion, it's about women reclaiming their power. And the rumors about financial irregularities are being investigated by the appropriate authorities. I smiled. But today, we're celebrating growth, not dwelling on the past. The reporter pressed on. Your ex-husband's law firm announced his leave of absence pending an ethics review. Any comment? Only that actions have consequences. I gestured to the busy store, and that sometimes those consequences look like success. After the interview, Hazel pulled me aside. Stephen's outside. What? In his car. Been there 20 minutes. I found him parked across the street, looking disheveled in his usually immaculate suit. You can't be here, I said through his open window. My name's still on some of the paperwork. His voice was rough. The SEC is very interested in those papers. I know. That's why you're here, isn't it? Hoping to make a deal? He gripped the steering wheel. I could lose everything. Funny how that works. I stepped back. The kids are inside. They don't need to see you like this. Tori, please. Goodbye, Stephen. Inside, Piper was addressing the crowd, one hand on her belly. This store represents second chances, not just for me, but for every woman who's ever been told her dreams are secondary to someone else's schemes. The applause was interrupted by a commotion at the door. 2 men in suits entered, badges visible. Federal agents, one announced. We need to speak with Stephen. He just left, I said smoothly, but I have something you might want to see. I led them to the office while Piper kept the crowd engaged. Sophia followed, carrying the files we'd prepared. Everything's here, I told the agents. Bank records, transfer documents, witness statements. We've been expecting you. You knew this was coming? Sophia asked after they left. Let's just say the SEC isn't the only agency interested in your father's creative accounting. The rest of the event passed in a blur of congratulations and champagne. By closing time, only family remained, including Piper, who'd somehow become part of our strange new normal. The agent said Dad might go to prison, Jeremy said quietly, helping me clean up. That's up to him now. I hugged him close. But we're going to be okay. Better than okay, Sophia added. We're going to be amazing. Caden appeared with takeout bags. Figured everyone might be hungry. As we gathered around the mezzanine tables, I looked at my unlikely family. My children, stronger for having faced hard truths. Piper, transformed from adversary to ally. Hazel, my constant support. And Caden, patient and understanding, letting me set the pace for whatever we were becoming. My phone buzzed, a news alert about Stephen's arrest. Mom? Sophia noticed my expression. You okay? You know what? I put the phone away. I really am. To new beginnings, Caden raised his glass. And to karma, Piper added with a slight smile. To family, I corrected, watching Jeremy actually laugh at something Sophia said. Whatever form it takes. Outside, police lights flashed as they towed Stephen's abandoned car. But up here, surrounded by people who'd chosen truth over comfortable lies, I felt only peace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else's world. It's about building your own, stronger than before, with people who deserve to be part of it. Guilty on all counts. Sophia squeezed my hand as the verdict echoed through the courtroom. Stephen stood motionless at the defense table, his expensive suit no longer able to mask what he truly was. The defendant will be remanded into custody pending sentencing, the judge announced. As the bailiff approached, Stephen turned to look at us. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the man I'd once loved, before greed and ego had consumed him. Then he was gone, led away in handcuffs. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. How does it feel to see your ex-husband convicted? Any comment on the sentencing recommendations? Will the boutique survive the scandal? Jeremy stepped forward, surprising everyone. Our mom turned a betrayal into a business that helps people. That's the only story worth telling. In the car, Sophia scrolled through news alerts. They're calling it the comeback of the year. The boutique's website is crashing from all the traffic. People love redemption stories, I said, pulling into the store's parking lot. Speaking of which, Piper waited inside, her newborn daughter sleeping in a carrier. The store had become her sanctuary during the trial, a place where she could focus on building rather than destroying. How did it go? She asked softly. 8 to 12 years, Sophia answered, plus restitution. Good. Piper adjusted her daughter's blanket. Lucy deserves better than a con man for a father anyway. The store had transformed since that first confrontation. What started as one boutique had grown into a network of women-owned businesses, each with its own story of survival and reinvention. The new mentorship program has 30 applications, Sophia reported, pulling up spreadsheets on her tablet. She'd inherited my head for business and her father's determination, but used those traits for better purposes. Mom? Jeremy called from the mezzanine. Caden's here with the contracts. Caden had proven himself not just as a partner in business, but in life. He understood that trust had to be rebuilt slowly, that love was shown through actions rather than words. The merger paperwork is ready, he said, spreading documents across the conference table. Gerard's firm is officially combining with your consulting group, making you the largest business development consultancy in 3 states, Sophia added proudly. I signed where indicated, each signature cementing the future we'd fought to create. There's something else, Caden said, pulling out a small box. Not a ring, not yet, but a key to a future we could build together whenever you're ready. Before I could respond, Hazel burst in. Turn on the news, now! On the wall-mounted TV, Stephen's former law partner was being led out of his office in handcuffs. Federal agents have uncovered a broader conspiracy, the reporter announced. Multiple lawyers and business owners implicated in what prosecutors call a systematic fraud scheme. Dad wasn't the mastermind? Jeremy asked. Just another pawn, I realized. Like he tried to make us. But we chose differently, Sophia said firmly. The store's bell chimed as customers entered, women drawn to more than just clothes. They came for the community we'd built, the strength we represented. Ms. Diaz? A young woman approached hesitantly. I read about your story. I'm in a similar situation. Could we talk? Of course. I gestured to the comfortable seating area we'd created for exactly this purpose. And please, call me Tori. As she shared her story, I saw my children spring into action. Sophia gathering resource materials, Jeremy making coffee, both of them showing what they'd learned about compassion and courage. Piper joined us, Lucy awake now and cooing. You know what helped me? Realizing that our worst moments don't define us. What we build from them does. The young woman wiped her eyes. I'm afraid of starting over. Don't think of it as starting over, I said. Think of it as starting stronger. Later, as we closed up, Caden helped Jeremy with inventory, while Sophia and Piper discussed next season's business plan. I held Lucy, marveling at how this child born of betrayal had become a symbol of renewal. You never answered about the key, Caden reminded me quietly. I looked around at my unconventional family, my fierce, loving children, Piper and Lucy finding their way, Hazel's unwavering friendship, and this patient man who'd shown me that love could be trustworthy. Yes, I said simply, but not because I need someone, because I choose someone. The setting sun painted the boutique in warm light, illuminating the sign we'd chosen together. Phoenix Rising, where every woman's story matters. Ready to go home? Sophia asked, gathering her things. Home. Not the house where I'd lived in comfortable denial, but the life we'd built from truth and determination. Actually, I smiled, taking Caden's hand. I think I'm already there. Sometimes the happiest endings don't erase the painful chapters. They transform them into something meaningful, something real, something worth fighting for.
The email from my mother sat unopened in my inbox for 3 hours before I finally clicked it. I knew whatever was inside would ruin my day. Her messages always did lately, but nothing could have prepared me for this bombshell. I'm Tessa, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had my life pretty well figured out. My sustainable fashion brand was finally taking off. I had just opened my second boutique, and for once, I wasn't being compared to my perfect younger sister, Vanessa. Then our dad passed away, and everything changed. Just before we continue, what do you predict will happen next? Your insights are always fascinating. Share them in the comments below. Let's pick up where we left off. I've decided to modify the inheritance distribution. Mom's email read, John has shown remarkable business acumen, and I believe he'll make the best use of the majority share. I hope you understand. John, my sister's husband. The same John who'd been sniffing around our family's money since the day he married Vanessa. I nearly knocked over my coffee as I stood up from my desk. My assistant Sarah poked her head in. Everything okay? No, I said, grabbing my phone. Everything is not okay. I dialed Valerie, my best friend and business partner. She picked up on the first ring. Val, you're not going to believe this. Mom's giving most of Dad's money to John. What? That can't be legal. Your dad's will. Mom had power of attorney. Dad trusted her to distribute everything fairly. I laughed bitterly. Guess that was his first mistake. Hold on, Valerie said. Isn't this the same John who's been trying to get into the fashion industry? My blood ran cold. What do you mean? Check your Instagram. Someone just tagged us in a post about new eco-friendly designs. I pulled up the app, and there it was. My latest collection, the one I'd been working on for months. being advertised under John's new brand name. The photos were clearly of my prototypes, down to the distinctive recycled fabric patterns I'd developed. That lying snake, I whispered. He must have photographed them when he visited the workshop last month with Vanessa. We need to shut this down, Valerie said. I'm calling our lawyer. No, I said, an idea forming. Not yet, this is exactly what I needed. What are you thinking? John's not as smart as he thinks he is. He just proved he's willing to steal from family. Now I just need to show Mom who she's really giving Dad's money to. My phone buzzed. Another email, this time from John himself. Looking forward to discussing potential collaborations with Kelly Eco Fashion. Families should work together, right? The nerve, I muttered. Val, I need to go. Time to pay my dear brother-in-law a visit. I drove across town to John and Vanessa's house, my hands tight on the steering wheel. Their perfect suburban home, with its manicured lawn, made my skin crawl. Everything about John was for show. Vanessa opened the door, surprise crossing her face. Tessa, what are you doing here? Is John home? I asked, stepping past her into the foyer. He's in his office, but I heard his voice before I saw him. That smooth, practiced tone that had fooled everyone but me. He was on the phone, feet up on his desk like he owned the world. Ah, Tessa, he said, hanging up. I was just about to call you. Have you seen my new venture? I thought we could cut the act, I said, pulling up the Instagram post on my phone. Want to explain this? His smile didn't waver. Oh, that. Just a little market research. I'm sure we can work something out that benefits both of us. Benefits both of us. You stole my designs. Borrowed, he corrected. We're family, and soon I'll have the capital to make you a very generous offer. The pieces clicked together. That's why you've been sucking up to Mom. You needed her to give you the money so you could what? Buy me out? Business is business, Tessa. Sometimes the best opportunities come from family. I heard Vanessa's sharp intake of breath behind me. When I turned, her face had gone pale. John, she said, what's going on? Nothing for you to worry about, honey, he said, standing up. Just a little misunderstanding between sisters. No, I said. This is between you and me, and trust me, you have no idea what you've started. I stormed out, but not before catching Vanessa's expression, hurt, confusion, and something else. Doubt. Back in my car, I called Valerie again. Remember when you said I should hire a private investigator to look into John's background? Yeah? Do it. And Val? Tell them to dig deep. Something tells me the design theft is just the beginning. I looked back at the house, where Vanessa stood in the window watching me. For the first time in years, I felt sorry for my little sister, but I couldn't worry about her feelings now. John had declared war, and I was going to make him regret ever messing with our family. I hadn't planned on confronting Mom so soon, but when she texted asking me to come over for Sunday dinner, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. The stolen designs were burning a hole in my phone, and John's smug face haunted my dreams. The familiar scent of Mom's lasagna hit me as I walked in. Some things never changed, like how she always cooked Dad's favorite meals when she was feeling guilty. Tessa, you're early, Mom said, wiping her hands on her apron. Her smile faltered when she saw my expression. What's wrong? We need to talk about John, I said, following her into the kitchen. And the inheritance. She busied herself with the salad. I've already made my decision. Did you know he's stealing my designs? I pulled up the Instagram posts on my phone. Look at these. These are my prototypes, Mom. My work. She glanced at the screen, frowning. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. John wouldn't what? Lie? Steal? He admitted it to my face. I slammed my phone down on the counter. He's using you to get Dad's money so he can push me out of my own business. The doorbell rang. Mom looked relieved at the interruption until we heard Vanessa's voice in the hallway, and John's. Perfect timing, I muttered. They walked into the kitchen, John's arm around Vanessa's waist. He looked completely at ease, as if he hadn't just been caught stealing from his sister-in-law. Something smells amazing, he said, kissing Mom's cheek. Need any help? Actually, I said, we were just discussing your new fashion venture. The room went silent. Vanessa shifted away from John, crossing her arms. Oh? John's smile remained fixed. I was hoping to surprise everyone once everything was finalized. Surprise us, I laughed, by stealing my designs? Tessa, Mom warned, but I was done being quiet. Show them, I demanded, pushing my phone toward John. Show them how you photographed my prototypes and tried to pass them off as your own. Is this true? Vanessa asked, her voice small. John spread his hands. I was inspired by Tessa's work, yes, but I've made significant improvements. Improvements, I cut in. They're exact copies. Enough. Mom slapped her hand on the counter. This is exactly why I made my decision. Tessa, you've always been jealous of your sister's happiness. Now you're trying to sabotage her husband's business venture. I stared at her, stunned. Are you serious? He's the one. John has shown me his business plan, Mom continued. He's thinking about the whole family's future, not just his own success. His business plan. I turned to John. You mean the one built on stealing my work? I was going to offer you a partnership, John said smoothly. Once the funding came through, we could combine our expertise. You mean once you got your hands on Dad's money? I looked at Vanessa. Did you know about this? She wouldn't meet my eyes. John said he had some ideas for the fashion industry. Ideas? Is that what we're calling theft now? That's enough. Mom's voice cracked like a whip. I won't have you attacking John like this. He's family. Dad was family too, I shot back. What would he think about you giving his money to someone who steals from his own daughter? Mom's face went white. For a moment, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Doubt, maybe even guilt. But then John stepped forward, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. Marlene, I know this is difficult. Family businesses can be complicated. Maybe we should all take some time to cool down. Don't touch her, I snapped. Don't pretend you care about this family when you're trying to destroy everything I've built. Tessa, Vanessa spoke up, her voice shaking. Maybe if we all just talked about this calmly. There's nothing to talk about, Mom said firmly. The decision is made. John will receive the majority share, and that's final. I looked around the kitchen, at Mom's stubborn expression, John's calculated calm, and Vanessa's uncertain face. Something had changed in my sister's eyes, though, a crack in her perfect world. Fine, I said quietly, but remember this moment, Mom. Remember that you chose him over your own daughter. I walked out, ignoring Mom's calls behind me. As I reached my car, I heard footsteps. Tessa, wait. It was Vanessa. I turned. What? She glanced back at the house, then stepped closer. I need to tell you something about John's business plan. Now you want to talk? Please, she whispered. Not here. Can we meet tomorrow, somewhere private? I studied her face, the worry lines around her eyes, the way she kept looking over her shoulder. Whatever she knew, it was big enough to scare her. Coffee shop on 5th, I said. 8 a.m. She nodded quickly and hurried back inside. I watched her go, wondering what other secrets John was hiding. Whatever Vanessa knew, it might be exactly what I needed to expose him for who he really was. And this time, Mom wouldn't be able to ignore the truth. The coffee shop was nearly empty when I arrived at 7:55 a.m. I chose a corner table, my back to the wall, watching the door. Part of me didn't expect Vanessa to show up at all, but at exactly 8, she walked in. Her designer handbag and perfect makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. You look terrible, I said as she sat down. I haven't slept. She glanced around nervously. John thinks I'm at yoga. The barista brought our drinks, my usual Americano, and Vanessa's fancy latte. Some habits never changed. So, I said, what's this about John's business plan? Vanessa's hands shook as she pulled out her phone. Last night, after you left, I went through his computer while he was in the shower. I found these emails. She slid the phone across the table. The first email was from an offshore bank in the Cayman Islands. Keep scrolling, she whispered. Each email revealed more: wire transfer instructions, shell company registrations, and communications with someone about moving large sums of money overseas. He's planning to take the inheritance and run, I said. Vanessa nodded, tears forming. There's more. Remember last year when his investment firm suddenly closed? The one he said merged with a bigger company. It didn't merge, it failed. He lost everything, his clients' money, our savings. She wiped her eyes. He's been lying about everything. Does Mom know? No. He showed her fake documents, projected earnings from his new ventures, including the fashion line he stole from you. My phone buzzed. Valerie calling. 1 second, I told Vanessa. Val? The PI got back to me, Valerie said. You need to see this. Can you come to the office? I looked at Vanessa. Actually, I'm with my sister. Can we both come? 20 minutes later, we sat in Valerie's office while she pulled up files on her computer. Your husband's been busy, she told Vanessa. 3 failed businesses in the last 5 years, all following the same pattern. He takes investors' money, moves it offshore, then declares bankruptcy. Vanessa's face crumpled. Oh God. The fashion line theft was just his latest scheme, Valerie continued. He needed Mom's money to make it look legitimate. We have to stop him, I said. Vanessa, you need to tell Mom. I can't, she cut in. You don't understand. He has things on me too. What things? She wouldn't meet my eyes. Remember when Dad's watch went missing? John told Mom I took it to pay off gambling debts. But you don't gamble. Exactly. He planted evidence, made it look like I had a problem. He said if I ever turned against him, he'd show Mom everything. That manipulative bastard, I muttered. No wonder you've been defending him. I was scared, she whispered. I still am, but when I saw what he did to you, Valerie cleared her throat. There's something else you both need to see. She pulled up an email chain. The timestamp showed 3 a.m., just hours after our confrontation at Mom's. He's accelerating his plans, Valerie said. These are instructions to his contact about moving the inheritance money as soon as it clears. When is Mom transferring the money? I asked Vanessa. Tomorrow morning. She already signed the papers. Then we have less than 24 hours to stop him. I turned to Valerie. Can you get all this evidence to our lawyer? She nodded. Already on it. Good. I faced my sister. Vanessa, I know you're scared, but I need your help. We can prove John framed you. But first, we have to stop him from taking everything. She took a shaky breath. What do you need me to do? Can you get into his email account again? We need proof he's planning to transfer the money. I think so. He leaves his laptop open when he's home. Perfect. I squeezed her hand. We're going to fix this, together. She squeezed back, managing a small smile. I'm sorry, Tessa, for everything. I should have seen who he really was. Hey, he fooled all of us. Well, except me. Because you always see through people's bullshit, she said, laughing weakly. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Family dinner tonight. Non-negotiable. Speaking of bullshit, I showed them the message. Looks like we have a dinner to attend. He'll be suspicious if we don't go, Vanessa said. Good. I stood up. Let him be suspicious. You go home, act normal, and get into his email. I'll handle Mom. Be careful, Valerie warned. Men like John get dangerous when cornered. I watched Vanessa gather her things, noting how she straightened her shoulders, lifted her chin. For the first time in years, I saw my little sister instead of John's perfect wife. Val's right, I said. Are you sure you want to do this? Vanessa paused at the door. He stole my life, Tessa. It's time I took it back. As she left, I felt something I hadn't experienced since before Dad died. Hope. Maybe this wasn't just about saving our inheritance anymore. Maybe it was about saving our family too. The rest of the day was a blur of business meetings and secret text messages with Vanessa. I barely focused during our quarterly review, my mind racing with plans and backup plans. Ms. Kelly, my assistant's voice snapped me back to reality. The sustainable fabric supplier is online too. Tell them I'll call back tomorrow. I checked my phone. Another text from Vanessa. Found something big. Hidden folder on laptop. Can't talk now. J home early. My heart raced. Before I could reply, Valerie burst into my office. The lawyer called, she said, closing the door. We might have a problem. The inheritance transfer isn't just scheduled for tomorrow. It's happening tonight. What? That's not possible. John convinced your mom to expedite it. Said something about a time-sensitive business opportunity. My phone buzzed again. Mom. Dinner at 6 instead of 7. Important family matters to discuss. Of course, I muttered. He's moving everything up. We need to get to those documents before dinner. How? I dialed Vanessa. She answered in a whisper. I can't talk. Is John there? Yes, but he's leaving for the gym soon. Perfect. I'm coming over. Text me when he's gone. 45 minutes later, I pulled into their driveway. Vanessa met me at the door, looking over my shoulder nervously. He'll be back in an hour, she said, leading me to John's home office. The folder's password protected, but I saw him type it in once. She sat at his laptop, fingers flying over the keyboard. Got it. The screen filled with documents, bank statements, transfer authorizations, and emails about offshore accounts. But something else caught my eye. Wait, I said, go back to that photo. It was an old picture, maybe 5 years old, showing John with a group of people at what looked like a business dinner. Dad was there too. When was this taken? I don't know, Vanessa said. I've never seen it before. I zoomed in on Dad's face. He looked angry, gesturing at something off camera. This was right before his first heart attack. Look at the date, Vanessa pointed. This was taken at the Carlton Hotel, the night Dad caught someone trying to scam his investors. The pieces started falling into place. Dad never told us who it was. He said he handled it. Because it was John, Vanessa finished. He knew John was corrupt before any of us. A car door slammed outside. We froze. He's back early, Vanessa whispered. I quickly forwarded the documents to my email, while Vanessa closed everything down. We barely made it to the kitchen when John walked in. Tessa, his surprise seemed genuine. What are you doing here? Just dropped by to talk to Vanessa about tonight's dinner, I said smoothly. Mom moved it up to 6, did she? Something flickered in his eyes. How considerate of her. Well, I should go get ready, I said, heading for the door. See you both there. In my car, I called Valerie. Check Dad's old files from 5 years ago. Anything about the Carlton Hotel or investment fraud. On it. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Dad knew exactly who John was, and I bet he left evidence somewhere. Be careful, she warned. If John figures out what you know, he won't. But just in case, I took a deep breath. If anything happens to me or Vanessa, take everything we found straight to the police. The drive to Mom's house felt like walking into a trap. John's car was already there when I arrived. Through the window, I could see him talking to Mom in the kitchen, his hand on her shoulder like a concerned son. My phone buzzed one last time. Vanessa, don't let him know about the photos. I have a plan. I squared my shoulders and walked inside. Mom was setting the table, John helping, like the perfect son-in-law. Vanessa sat quietly, hands folded in her lap. Tessa, Mom said stiffly, I'm glad you came. We have something important to discuss. The inheritance transfer, I said, or John's history of investment fraud. The serving spoon clattered from Mom's hand. John's smile didn't waver, but his eyes turned cold. I don't know what you think you found, he said, but I can explain everything. Like you explained Dad's watch. Vanessa's voice was steady. Or the gambling debts you made up. Honey, he started, but she cut him off. No more lies, John. Mom looked between us, confusion turning to concern. What's going on? Why don't you tell her? I said to John. Tell her about the Carlton Hotel, about how Dad caught you 5 years ago. His facade cracked just for a moment. But it was enough. Mom saw it too. What is she talking about? She asked him. John reached for his phone, but Vanessa spoke first. Looking for your transfer instructions. I already changed all the passwords. The mask fell completely. John's face twisted with rage. as he realized he was trapped. "You have no idea what you've done," he snarled. "No," I said, pulling out my phone to show Mom the evidence. "But you're about to find out." Mom's hand shook as she scrolled through the documents on my phone. Each swipe revealed another layer of John's deception. The fake business reports, the offshore accounts, the stolen designs. "I don't understand," she whispered. "All those projections you showed me." "Lies," Vanessa said. Everything was lies. John paced the dining room like a caged animal. "You're making a mistake, all of you." "The only mistake was trusting you," I said, keeping myself between him and Mom. "Dad saw through you years ago, didn't he? That's what happened at the Carlton." "Your father," John spat, "was a short-sighted old man who couldn't recognize a good opportunity." Mom's head snapped up. "Don't you dare speak about him that way." "Why not? He's the reason I had to start over. He blacklisted me from every investment firm in the city." John laughed bitterly. "But I found a way back in, through her." He pointed at Vanessa. "You married me for revenge?" Vanessa's voice cracked. "I married you because it was convenient. Your family's money, your father's connections. It was all supposed to be mine." My phone buzzed. "Valerie. Found the Carlton files. Police report included. Sending now." "Check your email, Mom," I said quietly. She opened the new message, and there it was. Dad's statement to the police about an investment scam he'd uncovered. The scammer's name had been redacted, but the details matched everything we'd found. "Robert knew," Mom said, using Dad's first name. "He knew, and he tried to protect us. By threatening me," John cut in. "He said he'd bury me if I ever came near his family. But he didn't count on his precious daughter falling in love with me, did he?" "Love?" Vanessa stood up. "You call this love? Oh, please. You were so desperate to be the perfect daughter, the perfect wife. It was pathetic, really. Almost as pathetic as your sister's jealousy." I started toward him, but Vanessa grabbed my arm. "He's not worth it." John's phone chimed. His face changed as he read the message. "Well, this has been enlightening, but I'm afraid I have a flight to catch." "You're not going anywhere," I said. "Try to stop me." He pulled out his car keys. "The money's already gone, transferred an hour ago to accounts you'll never find." Mom went pale. "What?" "Check your bank statement, Marlene. While you were all so busy playing detective, I was making sure my investment was secure." I grabbed my phone, calling Valerie. "Tell me you froze those accounts." "Better," she said. "The lawyer got an emergency injunction. Any transfers made in the last 12 hours are automatically reversed." Relief flooded through me. "It's over, John. The money's coming back." "You're bluffing. Check your phone. The notification should be coming through right about now." His face contorted as he read the message. For a moment, I thought he might actually attack me. But then we heard sirens in the distance. "That'll be the police," Vanessa said. "I called them before dinner. They're very interested in those fraud charges from 5 years ago." John lunged for the back door, but I was faster. I knocked over the hall table, sending him stumbling. Vanessa grabbed the keys from his hand as he fell. "That's for lying about the gambling debts," she said. The police burst in moments later. As they read John his rights, Mom sank into a chair, looking shell-shocked. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. "I should have listened to you both." Vanessa knelt beside her. "You couldn't have known." "But Tessa knew. She tried to tell me." "Hey," I said, sitting down with them. "We all got played. Well, except Dad." Mom pulled out her phone, looking at Dad's old police statement again. He was protecting us until the end, making sure there was evidence if John ever came back. "Speaking of evidence," Vanessa said, "what should we do with everything we found?" I watched through the window as the police car carrying John disappeared around the corner. "I think it's time we had a long talk with their fraud department." "And then?" Mom asked. "Then we figure out how to move forward, together." My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Valerie. "Bank confirms all transfers reversed. You did it." I showed the message to Mom and Vanessa. For the first time in months, maybe years, we shared a genuine smile. "I need a drink," Mom announced, standing up. "And then you two are going to tell me everything. No more secrets in this family." As she went to get wine glasses, Vanessa touched my arm. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not giving up on me." "That's what sisters are for," I said. "Even when one of them marries a criminal mastermind." She laughed, then grew serious. "Do you think Dad would be proud of us?" I looked around the room, at the family photos on the walls, at Mom returning with glasses, at the empty space where John's presence had cast such a long shadow. "Yeah," I said, "I think he would." The next morning, our family lawyer's office felt too small for all the emotions swirling around us. Mom sat rigidly in her chair, while Vanessa and I flanked her like guards. On the desk between us lay a mountain of paperwork, evidence of John's crimes, bank statements, and divorce papers. "The good news," Sarah, our lawyer, said, "is that we've recovered nearly all the funds. The bad news is that John's not going down without a fight." "What do you mean?" Vanessa asked. "He's claiming you were complicit in his schemes." Sarah slid a document across the desk. "He says you knew about everything from the beginning." "That's ridiculous," I snapped. "Of course it is," Sarah agreed. "But he's desperate, and he's requesting a meeting." Vanessa went pale. "Here, at the police station, under supervision." Sarah leaned forward. "You don't have to go." "Yes, I do." Vanessa's voice was quiet but firm. "I need to face him." Mom reached for her hand. "We'll go with you." 2 hours later, we sat in a stark interview room. When they brought John in, he looked nothing like the polished businessman we knew. His designer suit had been replaced by prison orange, his confident smile by dark circles under his eyes. "My love," he said to Vanessa, reaching across the table. She pulled back. "Don't. You're making a terrible mistake. Everything I did was for us." "For us?" Vanessa's laugh was bitter. "Was framing me for gambling a part of your grand plan, or stealing my sister's designs. I was building an empire. You were building lies," I cut in. "Just like at the Carlton Hotel." His eyes snapped to mine. "Your father should have minded his own business that night." "My father," Mom said coldly, "was protecting his family from a predator." "A predator?" John leaned back, smirking. "Funny, that's not what you called me when I was helping manage your finances, Marlene. When I was the perfect son-in-law. You manipulated me. I showed you what you wanted to see. The successful businessman, the loving husband." He turned to Vanessa. "The man who could finally make your daughter feel special." Vanessa stood up so fast her chair toppled. "You don't get to do this anymore. You don't get to twist everything. Honey, think about what you're throwing away." "My name," she said through gritted teeth, "is Vanessa, and I'm not throwing away anything. I'm taking back my life." She pulled out a folder and dropped it on the table. "These are divorce papers. Sign them." "Or what?" "Or I testify about everything. The fraud, the theft, the offshore accounts, every lie you ever told." John's facade cracked. "You wouldn't. Try me." The guard shifted, ready to intervene, but John just stared at Vanessa like he was seeing her for the first time. "You've changed," he said finally. "No, I've remembered who I am." She pushed the papers closer. "Sign." His hand shook slightly as he took the pen. Each signature felt like another wall crumbling between us. "Congratulations," he said when he finished. "You've ruined everything." "No, John," I said. "You did that all by yourself." As the guard led him away, he turned back one last time. "Your father would be so proud. His daughters, finally working together." "Don't speak about Dad," Vanessa said, "ever again." Outside the police station, Mom pulled us both into a hug. "I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner." "We all missed it," I said. "Except Dad." "Speaking of Dad," Vanessa pulled away, wiping her eyes. "I have an idea about the inheritance." "Oh? What if we used it to help other women? Start a foundation for victims of financial abuse?" Mom smiled. "Your father would have loved that." My phone buzzed. "Valerie again." The design theft charges are official. John's looking at serious time. Good, I texted back. Time to rebuild. What now? Mom asked as we walked to our cars. Now, I said, we have a family dinner to plan. A real one this time, with real conversations, Vanessa added. And no criminal masterminds, I finished. We laughed, and for the first time in years, it felt genuine. The weight of John's presence, of all the secrets and lies, was finally lifting. Girls, Mom said suddenly. There's something in the trunk I want you to see. She opened it and pulled out a familiar wooden box, Dad's watch collection. John didn't steal it, she said, looking at Vanessa. I kept it safe, just like your father asked me to. He said someday we'd need to remember what real integrity looks like. Vanessa touched the box gently. He knew he was protecting us until we could protect ourselves. And each other, I added. We stood there in the parking lot. 3 women holding a box of watches and years of unspoken truths, finally ready to move forward. Together, 1 month after John's arrest, I stood in my boutique's back room, surrounded by the remains of my stolen collection. Vanessa helped me sort through the pieces, marking what could be salvaged and what needed to be scrapped. I can't believe he copied every single detail, she said, holding up a dress, even the recycled silk lining. That's what makes it worse. He actually understood what I was creating. He just didn't care. The bell above the shop door chimed. Valerie poked her head in. Your mother's here. Mom walked in carrying a familiar leather portfolio. I found this in your father's study. She laid it on the cutting table and opened it carefully. Inside were sketches, dozens of them, of clothing designs. Dad drew these? I picked up a page, studying the detailed notes in the margins. Before he went into finance, Mom said, he wanted to be a designer, but his father insisted he take a practical path. Why didn't he ever tell us? He said he'd share them when the time was right. Mom smiled sadly. I think he was waiting for you to find your own path first. Vanessa touched one of the sketches. These are amazing. The construction, the detail. Use them, Mom said. Both of you. I looked up sharply. What? Launch a new collection. Together. She gestured between us. Combine your talents, your father's designs with your sustainable vision. Vanessa and I exchanged glances. I don't know anything about fashion, she said. But you know about marketing, about reaching people. I picked up another sketch, and these designs, they tell a story, our story. The Kelly Legacy Collection, Valerie mused from the doorway. I like it. Before we could respond, my phone rang. It was Sarah, our lawyer. John's pleading guilty, she said without preamble. He's accepting a deal. The room went quiet as I put the phone on speaker. What kind of deal? Vanessa asked. 5 years, plus restitution. He's naming names, other people involved in his schemes. Why now? Mom demanded. Because we found more evidence. The Carlton Hotel wasn't his first scam. There were others, going back 10 years. I watched Vanessa absorb this news, waiting for signs of distress. Instead, she looked relieved. Good, she said firmly. Let him talk. After the call ended, we stood in silence, surrounded by Dad's sketches and the pieces of my collection. We should do it, Vanessa said suddenly. The Legacy Collection, but not just as fashion. What do you mean? Each piece could support the foundation, help other women escape financial abuse, and tell Dad's story, Mom added, his real dream. I picked up one of his sketches, an elegant jacket with subtle, powerful details. We could launch during Fashion Week, make a statement. About more than clothes, Vanessa said. About family, truth, recovery. Valerie cleared her throat. The press would love it, especially after John's guilty plea. No, I said. This isn't about him anymore. It's about us, about Dad. Mom opened another folder. Then you'll need these too. Inside were more papers, Dad's original business plans, supplier contacts, even fabric swatches from decades ago. He kept everything, she explained. Said someday his girls would need to know where they came from. Vanessa wiped her eyes. He never gave up on us. Neither did I, Mom said, even when I was wrong about everything. I hugged her, then pulled Vanessa in too. We stood there, 3 generations of Kelly women, surrounded by the past and planning the future. Okay, Valerie said, pulling out her tablet. If we're doing this, we need a timeline. Fashion Week is in 4 months. First, I said, we need to clear something up. I turned to Mom. The foundation. Are you sure about using the inheritance? Your father wanted his money to make a difference. She touched one of his sketches. This way, it will. And the business? Vanessa asked. Running it together. We'll figure it out, I said. One design at a time. The shop bell rang again. This time it was a customer, holding one of the dresses John had copied. I heard what happened, she said. About the theft, I wanted to return this. Keep it, I said, an idea forming. But come back in 4 months. We're launching something new, something real. After she left, Vanessa picked up Dad's portfolio. He would have loved this, all of us, working together. He knew we would, Mom said. Eventually. I looked around the room, at Dad's sketches, at my sister's determined face, at Mom's proud smile. The past few months had nearly torn us apart, but somehow they'd brought us closer than ever. Well, I said, picking up a sketch, let's make him proud. Valerie started typing. Kelly Legacy Collection, launching Fashion Week. Time to show the world what real family business looks like. For the first time since this all began, I felt completely certain. This wasn't just about revenge or justice anymore. It was about legacy. Dad's, ours, and the women we could help along the way. The backstage area of Fashion Week buzzed with nervous energy. Models rushed past in Dad's reimagined designs, while Vanessa directed the final lineup changes. Through the curtain, I could hear the crowd growing. 5 minutes, Valerie called out, clipboard in hand. Where's your mom? Right here, Mom appeared, wearing one of Dad's original designs, a stunning black blazer we'd found preserved in tissue paper. The foundation representatives are seated in front, and the press is very interested in our story. Not just our story, I said, adjusting a model's collar. Everyone's story. Each piece in the collection carried a tag with a QR code linking to the foundation's website, where women could find resources for financial independence and support. We'd already received hundreds of messages from people sharing their own experiences. Tessa, Vanessa grabbed my arm. Someone from the Carlton Hotel is here. My stomach tightened. Who? The manager from that night. The one who helped Dad catch John. I peeked through the curtain. Sure enough, an older man sat in the front row, wearing a familiar hotel pin on his lapel. Did you invite him? I asked Mom. She smiled. Your father would have wanted him here. He helped save our family that night, even if we didn't know it then. The lights dimmed. Showtime. I stepped onto the runway, heart pounding. Good evening. Tonight's collection is called Legacy, but it's not just about fashion. It's about truth, resilience, and the power of family. The music started, one of Dad's favorite classical pieces. The first model emerged, wearing his signature design, updated with sustainable materials and modern details. From the corner of my eye, I saw Mom grab Vanessa's hand as the crowd gasped and applauded. Each piece told part of our story. The stolen designs reclaimed and transformed. Dad's sketches brought to life. New creations inspired by both. Halfway through the show, Vanessa squeezed my shoulder. Look at the screen. The foundation's website counter was climbing rapidly. Donations, shares, messages of support. Women standing up, speaking out, finding their voice. The final piece was mine. A wedding dress redesigned as a power suit, symbolizing transformation and new beginnings. As the model took her final turn, I saw the Carlton manager wipe his eyes. The applause was deafening. Mom pushed me and Vanessa onto the runway for the final bow. As we stood there, hands clasped, I felt Dad's presence stronger than ever. Backstage, reporters swarmed us. How does it feel to transform a personal tragedy into triumph? One asked. This isn't about triumph, Vanessa said. It's about truth. And family, Mom added, joining us. The Carlton manager approached, still wearing his pin. Robert would be proud, he said simply. He always said his daughters would change the world someday. Thank you, I said, for helping him that night, for giving us a chance to find the truth. He nodded, then handed me an envelope. He left this at the hotel, asked me to keep it safe until the right moment. Inside was a letter, written in Dad's familiar handwriting. My dear girls, if you're reading this, you've finally found your way back to each other. I always knew you would. The truth has a way of bringing people together, even when lies tear them apart. Remember, your greatest strength isn't in fighting alone, but in standing together. Take care of each other, take care of your mother, and never stop creating beauty from truth. Love always, Dad. Vanessa wiped her eyes, smearing her makeup. He knew we'd need this someday. He knew we'd need each other, Mom corrected. The foundation director approached with exciting news. The show had inspired a flood of donations and support offers. Law firms volunteering pro bono services, financial advisors offering counseling, businesses pledging support. This is just the beginning, she said. You've started something powerful. Looking around the chaotic backstage, at the models wearing Dad's designs, at Vanessa directing her team, at Mom proudly showing his letter to Valerie, I realized how far we'd come from that first devastating email about the inheritance. Ready to go? Vanessa asked. The foundation dinner starts in an hour. Actually, I said, I thought we could stop somewhere first. 20 minutes later, we stood in front of Dad's old office building. The night security guard recognized Mom and let us in. In Dad's former office, now occupied by someone else, we placed his watch box on the desk, right where he used to keep it. To legacy, Mom said softly. To truth, Vanessa added. To family, I finished. Outside, the city lights sparkled like possibilities. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Running the foundation, growing the business, helping other women find their strength. But tonight, we were just 3 women who had found their way back to each other, carrying forward a legacy of truth and love. Dad was right. Our greatest strength wasn't in fighting alone. It was in standing together, creating beauty from truth, and helping others do the same. That was the real inheritance he left us. And no one could ever steal that.
I thanked him with a smile when he told me he was leaving me for his secretary. 23 years of marriage, and those were the only words I could muster as he dropped his bombshell over our usual Sunday morning coffee. My name is Avery, and I've spent half my life being the perfect wife to a man who just told me I wasn't enough anymore. You're thanking me? Jonah's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips, his familiar wrinkles deepening in confusion. Avery, did you hear what I said? Crystal clear. I took another sip of my coffee, savouring its bitter warmth. Her name is Claire, she's 29, and you've been sleeping with her for 6 months. How did you? Your cologne changed. You started working late on Thursdays, and you've been clearing your browser history religiously. I set down my cup with deliberate care. I'm not stupid, Jonah. I never was. He had the decency to look ashamed, but only briefly. I didn't plan this, Avery. It just happened. Claire. She understands me. She challenges me. Unlike your boring housewife who put you through medical school. The words slipped out before I could stop them. That was 20 years ago. People change. We've grown apart. As we take a brief pause, we'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. Now, back to our story. I glanced around our kitchen, the one I'd decorated, the one where I'd packed countless lunches and kissed countless hurts better. Our daughter Audrey's graduation photos smiled down from the wall next to Gary's latest baseball team picture. Have you told the kids? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. He reached across the table for my hand. I pulled back. Don't. My voice was steady. When are you moving out? I've found an apartment. I can be gone by next weekend. He paused. Claire's waiting for me. Of course she was. Perfect, young Claire with her perfect makeup and designer clothes, paid for by my husband's successful medical practice, the one I'd helped him build while putting my own dreams on hold. "Mum," Gary's voice from the doorway made us both jump. Our 18-year-old son stood there in his pajamas, eyes darting between us. "What's going on?" "Your father was just leaving," I said, standing up. "He has something to tell you and your sister later." "Avery," Jonah started. "Later," I repeated firmly. "Gary, honey, would you put some coffee on? I need to make a phone call." I walked calmly to my home office, closed the door, and picked up my phone. My hands weren't shaking, that surprised me. "Eleanor, it's me. Can you come over?" I listened to my best friend's concerned voice. "No, I'm fine. Actually, I'm better than fine. Remember that contingency plan we talked about? It's time." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and logged into an email account Jonah knew nothing about. Dr. Ava Stone had 3 consulting requests waiting, including one from a prestigious hospital in Boston. I allowed myself a small smile. The knock on my door came sooner than expected. "Mom." It was Audrey, home from college for the weekend. Dad's acting weird and Gary says something's wrong. I opened the door to find both my children looking worried. Behind them, Jonah hovered uncertainly in the hallway. "Family meeting," I announced. "Living room now." As we gathered, I caught my reflection in the window, a woman in her 40s still attractive despite the subtle signs of aging. I'd spent years being invisible, and now— "Your father has something to tell you," I said, sitting down between my children on the couch. Jonah cleared his throat. "I'm moving out. Your mother and we're getting divorced." The explosion was immediate. Gary jumped up, fists clenched. Audrey burst into tears. "It's Claire, isn't it?" Audrey's voice was acid. "Your secretary? Really, Dad? How could you?" Gary's face was red with anger. "After everything Mum's done for you." I touched their shoulders gently. "Your father's made his choice. We'll get through this." "But Mom," Audrey turned to me, mascara running, "what are you going to do? You've never even had a job." That's what they all thought. My children, my husband, our friends. Poor Avery, the devoted housewife who sacrificed everything for her family. They had no idea. "Don't worry about me," I said, meeting Jonah's eyes across the room. "I'll manage just fine." Eleanor arrived 20 minutes later, after Jonah had left and the kids had retreated to their rooms. She found me in the kitchen, calmly making fresh coffee. "So," she said, sliding onto a bar stool, "are you ready to show them who Dr. Ava Stone really is?" I handed her a steaming cup. "Not yet. First, I want to watch him squirm." "The hospital's financial troubles aren't going away," Elena reminded me. "Sooner or later, he'll need Dr. Stone's help." "I know." I smiled that same smile I'd given Jonah earlier. "And won't that be interesting?" "Dr. Stone, your insight on this case has been invaluable," Dr. Mann's voice carried clearly through my laptop speakers. "The board would love to have you present at next month's conference." I adjusted my webcam slightly, ensuring my home office's carefully curated bookshelf remained visible behind me. "I'm honoured, Dorian, but you know my policy about in-person appearances." Yes, the mysterious Dr. Ava Stone. He chuckled. "Though I must say, your video consultations have revolutionized how we handle complex cases." If only Jonah could see me now, commanding respect from the same medical professionals who used to barely acknowledge me at his hospital fundraisers. But that wasn't why I'd created Dr. Stone. Not entirely. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. "Just a moment, Dorian." I muted my microphone. "Come in." Audrey poked her head in. "Mum, I need to talk to you about— Oh, sorry, you're working." "Give me 5 minutes, honey." I turned back to my screen. "Dorian, I'll review the conference materials and get back to you tomorrow." After ending the call, I found Audrey waiting in the kitchen, picking at a bowl of cereal. 2 weeks had passed since Jonah's departure, and the dark circles under her eyes told me she wasn't sleeping well. "What's up?" I asked, pouring myself coffee. "Dad called. He wants us to have dinner with him. And— her." She practically spat the last word. "And how do you feel about that?" "I told him to go to hell." She pushed her cereal away. But Gary's considering it. Mom, how are you so calm about all this? I sat down beside her. Because I refuse to let his choices destroy what I've built. What you've built? Mom, you've been a housewife since I was born. The words stung even though I knew they shouldn't. Actually, there's something I need to tell you and Gary. Where is he? Upstairs, probably texting Dad again. She rolled her eyes. He's worried about him. Apparently the hospital's having problems. Perfect timing. Gary? I called. Family meeting. Minutes later, we sat in the living room, my children watching me expectantly. I took a deep breath. What I'm about to tell you needs to stay between us for now. I opened my laptop and pulled up Dr. Stone's website. For the past 5 years, I've been running a medical consulting business. Their blank stares would have been comical under different circumstances. You're... What? Gary leaned forward, squinting at the screen. Dr. Ava Stone, I said, clicking through to my credentials page. I've been consulting for hospitals across the country, helping with their most challenging cases. But how? Audrey's voice was barely a whisper. When did you... Remember those online courses I took while you were in high school? The ones your father dismissed as my hobby? I smiled. I was completing my master's in healthcare administration. Then came the certifications, the networking, building my reputation. Does Dad know? Gary asked. No. And he's not going to. Not yet. Understanding dawned on Audrey's face. The hospital's financial troubles. They need someone like Dr. Stone, don't they? They do. I closed my laptop. And eventually they'll find me. But first, I need you both to understand why I kept this secret. Because of Dad, Gary said flatly. He would have taken credit for it somehow. Smart boy. Partly, but mostly because I needed to prove to myself that I could do this on my own. My phone buzzed. Elena's text reminded me of my afternoon consultation. Mom? Audrey's voice was different now, filled with something like awe. How much do you make doing this? I named a figure that made both their jaws drop. Holy shit, Gary whispered. We're not going to lose the house. Language, I said automatically. And no, we're not losing anything. In fact, I hesitated, then decided they deserved to know everything. I make more than your father does. The silence that followed was broken by unexpected laughter. Audrey's rich, genuine laugh that I hadn't heard since before the divorce announcement. Oh my God, she gasped. All those times he talked down to you about money. Does Elena know? Gary asked. She's been my confidant from the start. Speaking of which, I stood up, gathering my materials for the afternoon call. I have a consultation in 20 minutes. Questions? They had dozens, of course, but the most important one came from Audrey. When are you going to tell him? When the time is right. I touched her cheek gently. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting someone. It's about showing them exactly what they failed to see. As I headed back to my office, I heard Gary say, "Damn, our mom's a badass." I smiled, thinking of the email I'd received that morning from Jonah's hospital board. They were looking for an external consultant to help restructure their failing departments. They'd heard wonderful things about Dr. Ava Stone. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. And sometimes, if you're patient enough, it works exactly as planned. The hospital's cutting my department's funding by 30%. Jonah's voice crackled through my phone speaker. I need to talk to you about the house. I stirred honey into my tea, watching rain streak down the kitchen window. The house isn't for sale, Jonah. Avery, be reasonable. We need to liquidate assets. No, you need to liquidate assets. I'm staying right here with our children. A frustrated sigh. Can we meet? Please. There are things we need to discuss face to face. I checked my calendar. Dr. Stone had a video consultation in 2 hours. Fine. Coffee shop on Main Street, 1 hour. The cafe was nearly empty when I arrived. Jonah sat in a corner booth looking significantly more disheveled than I remembered. His designer watch was conspicuously absent. You look well, he said, as I slid into the seat across from him. The surprise in his voice was almost worth the extra time I'd spent on my appearance. You look terrible. I ordered a latte from the hovering waitress. Where's Claire? He flinched. She's... We're taking a break. Trouble in paradise already? It's only been 3 weeks. Can we not? He rubbed his face. The hospital's in serious trouble, Avery. They're bringing in some hotshot consultant, Dr. Stone, but until then, we're all facing cuts. I sipped my coffee to hide my smile. Sounds serious. It is. Look, I know you have no reason to help me, but you're right. I don't. Think of the kids. His voice rose slightly, drawing attention from nearby tables. This affects their future too. College funds, inheritance. Their college funds are secure, I cut in. I made sure of that years ago. He blinked. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not the financial idiot you always assumed I was. I set down my cup. The kids are taken care of. The house is paid for. Your problems are your own. How? His face reddened. Where did you get the money? Mom? Gary's voice interrupted us. He stood by our table, still in his baseball uniform, looking between us uncertainly. Everything okay? Perfect timing, honey. I stood up. Your father was just leaving. Gary, wait. Jonah reached for our son's arm, but Gary stepped back. Save it, Dad. I heard about Claire dumping you for that farmer rep. He turned to me. Practice ended early. Need a ride home? I gathered my purse, leaving Jonah staring at his cooling coffee. Outside, Gary held the umbrella over us both. Claire left him? I asked as we walked to the car. Yeah. Audrey heard from her friend who works at the hospital. Apparently Dad's not such a great catch now that his department's tanking. Back home, I found Audrey in my office staring at Dr. Stone's website. Mum, they posted the consultation schedule for Dad's hospital. She pointed to the screen. You're meeting with the board next week. Virtually, I reminded her, but eventually they'll want to meet in person. She spun in my chair. What are you going to do? I'm going to do my job. I perched on the desk edge. Dr. Stone is going to review their cases, analyze their procedures, and make recommendations to save their departments. Including Dad's, including your father's. I smiled. Though my recommendation might be that his department needs new leadership. Savage, Gary called from the doorway. But won't he lose everything? He'll lose what he deserves to lose. I stood up, straightening my blazer. Now, who's hungry? I'm thinking pizza. Later that night, Elena called. Jonah cornered me at the grocery store, she said without preamble. He's desperate to figure out how you're managing so well. What did you tell him? That maybe he should have paid more attention to his wife instead of his secretary. She paused. The board's talking about Dr. Stone non-stop. They're calling you their last hope. I logged into my email, scanning the latest hospital reports. Their problems go deeper than they realize. The entire management structure needs an overhaul. And Jonah will be treated like any other department head. I opened his department's file. Though his numbers are particularly troubling. Avery, Elena's voice softened, are you sure you can stay objective about this? Watch me. After hanging up, I found both kids in the living room, heads bent over their phones. Dad's texting again, Audrey announced. He wants to know if we've noticed anything different about you lately. If you've been acting strange. What did you say? I told him you seem happier than ever, she grinned, which is true. He's getting desperate, Gary added. Asked if you'd mentioned any new friends or jobs. I sat between them on the couch. You know this might get messy when the truth comes out. Mom, Audrey took my hand. It's already messy, but for once you're the one in control. Yeah, Gary agreed. And honestly, it's pretty cool watching Dad squirm. I squeezed their hands, thinking of next week's board meeting. Soon, Dr. Stone would begin dismantling the hierarchy that had protected men like Jonah for years. And I would enjoy every minute of it. Dr. Stone, your recommendations are quite radical. The hospital board chairman's face filled my screen, his expression a mix of concern and admiration. Particularly regarding the cardiology department. Radical problems require radical solutions, I replied, adjusting my webcam. Dr. Jonah's leadership has cost the hospital millions in inefficiencies and questionable procedures. A new window popped up on my screen, Dorian Mann requesting to join the call. I accepted, keeping my expression neutral as his familiar face appeared. Sorry I'm late, he said. I've been reviewing Dr. Stone's proposals and I have to say they're brilliant. The gala next month would be the perfect venue to present these changes. My heart skipped. The gala? Yes, the annual Medical Excellence Awards. The chairman nodded enthusiastically. Dr. Stone, we insist you attend in person. Your presence would add significant weight to these recommendations. Before I could decline, Dorian jumped in. I've already taken the liberty of nominating you for innovation in healthcare management. The committee was quite impressed. My phone buzzed. Eleanor's text read, "It's time. You can't hide forever." "I'll consider it," I said carefully. "Please send the details." After ending the call, I sat back in my chair, mind racing. The door creaked open and Audrey slipped in. "Mom, Dad's downstairs." "What?" I stood up quickly. "Why?" "He looks awful." She wrung her hands. "Gary, let him in. He's crying." I found Jonah in our living room, head in his hands. Gary hovered nearby, looking uncomfortable. "They're going to fire me," Jonah said without looking up. "This consultant, Dr. Stone, the recommendations just came through. My whole department is being restructured." "That's not my problem," I said, but my voice wavered slightly. He finally looked up, eyes red. "Please, Avery, you always knew how to fix things. Help me figure this out. Like you helped me when I wanted to go back to school." The words shot out before I could stop them. "Or when I suggested improvements to your practice billing system." "I was wrong," he whispered. "I was so wrong about everything." Gary stepped forward. "Mom, maybe—" "No," I cut him off. "Your father made his choices. Now he's facing the consequences." "The consequences?" Jonah stood up. "I'm about to lose everything, my practice, my reputation." "Your secretary." I couldn't resist. He deflated. "Claire's engaged to someone else now. It's been barely 2 months and she's—" "Calm as a bitch, isn't it?" Audrey appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. "Language," I said automatically, then turned back to Jonah. "You need to leave." "Wait." He pulled out his phone. "Look at these recommendations. This Dr. Stone, they're ruthless but brilliant. If I could just meet them, explain my side." I glanced at the familiar document on his screen. My own words condemning his years of mismanagement. My phone rang displaying Elena's name. I need to take this. In my office, Elena didn't waste time. The gala invitation just hit my inbox. Dorian Mann is determined to have Dr. Stone there. "I know." I sank into my chair. Jonah's downstairs right now begging for help. "Oh, this is perfect." I could hear her grinning. "Walk into that gala like the queen you are, accept that award and watch his face when—" "Mom?" Gary appeared in the doorway. "Dad's still here. He's talking about selling his car to keep the practice afloat." Eleanor heard him. "Don't you dare feel sorry for him, Avery." I ended the call and returned to the living room. Jonah had pulled out more papers, spreading them across the coffee table. "Look at these numbers," he was telling our children. "If I can just prove to Dr. Stone that my department is worth saving." "By fudging the figures?" I picked up one of the sheets. "Like you did last quarter." He froze. "How did you—" "Get out, Jonah." I gathered the papers. "And stop trying to involve our children in your professional failures." After he left, both kids stared at me. "You're going to that gala, right?" Audrey asked. "You have to." "It's time, Mom," Gary added. "Show them all who you really are." My phone buzzed again. An email from Dorian Mann. "Dr. Stone, I've taken the liberty of booking your hotel suite for the gala weekend. The awards committee is particularly excited about your work on hospital restructuring. Your presence would mean everything to the medical community." I looked at my children's eager faces, then at the family photo still hanging on the wall, taken years ago when I was just Jonah's supportive wife. "Elena," I called her back. "Book yourself a room for the gala weekend. I'm going to need my best friend there." "Finally!" she exclaimed. "What made you decide?" I watched Gary picking up Jonah's scattered papers, Audrey already scrolling through formal dress websites on her phone. "Because it's time for Dr. Stone to step into the light," I said, "and for Avery to step out of the shadows." "The medical community won't know what hit them," Elena laughed. "Neither would Jonah." The hotel ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and medical elite. I adjusted my midnight blue gown, touching the name tag that read, Dr. Ava Stone for reassurance. "Stop fidgeting," Elena whispered beside me. "You look amazing." "I see him." I nodded toward the bar where Jonah stood with other department heads, his rented tuxedo slightly ill-fitting. "He has no idea I'm here." "Ladies and gentlemen," Dorian Mann's voice boomed through the speakers, "please take your seats for dinner." We found our table near the podium. My hands shook slightly as I unfolded my napkin. "Dr. Stone," a woman approached our table. "I'm Autumn Wolfe from Medical Weekly. Would you mind if I asked you a few questions later?" "After the awards," I promised, watching Jonah being seated 3 tables away. Dorian took the stage, his silver hair catching the spotlight. "Tonight, we honor those who have transformed modern medicine. But first, let me introduce our keynote speaker, the brilliant consultant who's revolutionizing hospital management across the country, Dr. Ava Stone." The applause was thunderous. Eleanor squeezed my hand as I stood. "You've got this," she whispered. I approached the podium feeling hundreds of eyes on me. In the middle distance, I saw Jonah's face, politely attentive but unrecognizing. "Thank you, Dorian." My voice carried clearly through the microphone. "Before I begin, I'd like to share a story about underestimated potential." The room quieted. 23 years ago, I put my dreams on hold to support my husband through medical school. I was told to be content as just a doctor's wife. I paused, meeting Jonah's eyes directly. He told me I wouldn't understand the complexities of his work. Jonah's expression shifted from confusion to dawning horror. But what he didn't know was that I spent years studying, learning, and building something of my own. While he dismissed my little hobbies, I was earning my master's degree. While he belittled my suggestions about his practice, I was consulting for major hospitals. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jonah half rose from his chair. "My name is Dr. Ava Stone, but some of you might know me better as Avery, the former wife of Dr. Jonah from Metropolitan General." The gasps were audible. Autumn Wolfe was frantically taking notes. "The recommendations I've made for Metropolitan weren't born of malice, but of professional assessment. Every criticism, every suggested reform, is backed by data." I lifted my chin. "Including those regarding the cardiology department." "This is impossible," Jonah's voice carried across the silent room. "You're lying." "Actually," Dorian stepped forward, "Dr. Stone's credentials are impeccable. Her work has saved countless lives and millions of dollars. And now," I continued, my voice steady, "I'm honored to accept this award not just for myself, but for every person who's been told they're not enough. Success is the best revenge, but competence? That's revolutionary." The standing ovation was immediate. Through tears, I saw Eleanor cheering, Autumn Wolfe pushing through the crowd toward me, and Jonah slumping in his chair. Later, during dinner, Dorian raised his glass. "To Dr. Stone, who proves that diamonds form under pressure." "Mom?" My phone buzzed with Audrey's text. "You're trending on Twitter. Gary's recording the local news coverage." Jonah appeared at my table, swaying slightly. "How could you do this to me?" "I didn't do anything to you," I replied calmly. "I simply became who I always was." "Dr. Stone," Autumn touched my arm, "would you comment on the gender bias in medical administration?" "Of course." I stood, smoothing my dress. "But first, I believe my ex-husband was leaving." Security appeared silently, escorting a protesting Jonah out. Elena clinked her glass against mine. "Worth waiting for?" she asked. "Every second." I turned to Autumn. "Now, about that interview." The next hour passed in a blur of photographers, reporters, and congratulations. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from the kids. "Dr. Stone," Dorian approached with a distinguished group. "The board from Mayo Clinic would like to discuss a consulting opportunity." As I shook hands and exchanged cards, Elena slipped me a note. "Jonah's outside, crying to anyone who'll listen. Claire just walked past him without even looking." I excused myself and stepped onto the balcony for air. The city lights sparkled below, matching the diamonds at my throat, bought with my own money, earned under my own name. "Quite a night," Dorian joined me. You've caused quite a stir in the medical community. Change usually does. Your recommendations for Metropolitan? He hesitated. They'll be implemented in full, including the leadership changes. I nodded, thinking of Jonah's department. Sometimes healing requires surgery. Dr. Stone, Autumn called from the doorway. The Associated Press is on the line. I straightened my shoulders, feeling lighter than I had in years. Time to face the music. No, Dorian smiled. Time to conduct the orchestra. Inside, cameras flashed and questions flew, but all I could think was, finally, gloriously, free. Dr. Stone, how do you respond to allegations that your consulting work was motivated by personal vendetta? Autumn Wolf's microphone thrust toward my face as I tried to enter my office building. My work stands on its own merit, I replied, pushing through the crowd of reporters. The data speaks for itself. Your ex-husband claims you deliberately targeted his department, another reporter shouted. Elena appeared at my elbow, creating a path through the media circus. No more questions. Dr. Stone has appointments. Inside my office, I collapsed into my chair, watching the chaos through tinted windows. My phone rang, Audrey's face appearing on screen. Mum, have you seen the news? They're camping outside my dorm. I'm so sorry, honey. I never meant for this to affect you. Are you kidding? My roommate thinks you're a badass. She paused. But Mom, Dad's been calling non-stop. He's pretty messed up. My computer pinged with an incoming video call from Dorian. Sweetie, I need to take this. We'll talk later. Dorian's usually composed face looked strained. Avery, the board's concerned about the media attention. Your recommendations are solid, but the personal connection is irrelevant, I finished firmly. My analysis was objective and thorough. The thing is, he hesitated. Jonah's given an interview, it's not flattering. My phone buzzed again, Gary this time. Mum, Dad's on TV. It's bad. I switched on the office television. There was Jonah, looking disheveled, speaking to a sympathetic interviewer. She orchestrated this whole thing, his voice cracked. Used inside knowledge of our family, our hospital, to destroy everything I built. Turn it off, Elena commanded, entering with coffee. You don't need to hear this. But I couldn't look away. The interviewer was showing photos now. Our wedding, hospital fundraisers, family vacations, making me look like a calculating villain. Dr. Stone, my assistant poked her head in, your daughter's here. Audrey burst through the door, still wearing her college sweatshirt. This is insane. There are reporters everywhere. What are you doing here? You should be at school. Classes got disrupted. She threw her bag down. Everyone's talking about it. Some people are saying horrible things about you. My phone lit up with texts from Gary. Dad's supporters are protesting outside the hospital. They're saying you abused your position. Eleanor grabbed the remote, muting Jonah's continuing interview. We need a strategy. Now. Mom? Audrey's voice was small. What if they're right? What if revenge wasn't worth all this? I stood up, smoothing my blazer. This isn't about revenge. This is about truth. Dr. Stone, my assistant called again. Autumn Wolf is insisting on speaking with you. She says she has information you need to hear. I nodded. Send her in. Autumn entered, tablet in hand. You need to see this. Your ex-husband's interview. He left out some crucial details. She played a video. Claire, Jonah's former secretary, speaking to another reporter. Dr. Jonah knew about the department's problems months ago. He falsified reports, covered up mistakes. I left because I couldn't be part of it. Can we use this? Eleanor asked. Better. Autumn smiled. I've got testimonies from other hospital staff. Dr. Stone's recommendations weren't just accurate, they were necessary. My phone buzzed again. Dorian. The board's reviewed everything. We're standing behind you, Avery. Your work saved lives. Audrey hugged me suddenly. I'm proud of you, Mom, even with all this crazy stuff. Speaking of crazy, Elena pointed to the window, look who's here. Jonah stood in the parking lot below, surrounded by reporters. Our eyes met through the glass. He wants to talk, Gary texted. Says he'll tell the truth if you'll meet with him. I looked at the faces around me. Eleanor's concern, Audrey's worry, Autumn's professional interest. Set up a press conference, I told Autumn. It's time everyone heard the whole story. Are you sure? Eleanor touched my arm. Once you do this, there's no going back. I stopped going back the day he left. I turned to Audrey. Call your brother. I want both of you there. What are you going to say? She asked. I watched Jonah being swarmed by cameras below. The truth. All of it. About his department's failures, about my qualifications, about everything. It'll destroy him, Elena warned. No, I corrected. His own actions destroyed him. I'm just bringing them to light. My phone lit up with another text from Gary. On my way. Give him hell, Mom. Autumn was already making calls. I can have everyone here in an hour. Major networks are interested. I looked around my office. At the degrees I'd earned in secret, the awards I'd won as Dr. Stone, the life I'd built from the ashes of my marriage. 1 hour, I agreed. Let's end this story properly. Eleanor squeezed my hand. Ready to face the music? I thought of all the times I'd stayed quiet, played small, been invisible. No more hiding, I said. It's time for the whole world to meet the real Dr. Stone. Outside, cameras flashed and reporters waited, but for the first time since this storm began, I felt completely calm. The truth was my shield, and I was ready to use it. The conference room buzzed with tension as cameras rolled. Jonah sat across the table, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. Gary and Audrey flanked me like protective bodyguards. Thank you all for coming, I began, my voice steady. Recent events have raised questions about my professional integrity and motivations. Today, we'll address them all. Autumn Wolf leaned forward with her recorder. Dr. Stone, would you respond to allegations of personal bias? Actually, Jonah interrupted, standing suddenly. I'd like to speak first. The room fell silent. My children tensed beside me. 23 years ago, he said, his voice rough, I married an incredible woman. She put me through medical school, raised our children, supported my career, and He swallowed hard. I made her believe she wasn't enough. Dad, Gary whispered, but I touched his arm, signaling him to wait. When the board hired Dr. Stone, Avery, to evaluate our hospital, I didn't know it was her. But looking at these recommendations now, he lifted a thick folder. Every criticism is valid. Every suggestion for improvement is spot on. I wasn't just a bad husband. I was a negligent department head. Cameras clicked rapidly. Autumn scribbled notes. The reports I altered, the procedures I pushed through. Jonah looked directly at me. You knew about all of it, didn't you? I did my research, I replied carefully, as Dr. Stone always does. The thing is, he continued, she could have destroyed me completely, could have exposed everything at once. Instead, she gave our department a chance to reform, to do better. He laughed bitterly. Even taking revenge, she thought about patient care first. Elena, watching from the corner, gave me a subtle nod. It wasn't revenge, I said, standing to face him. It was justice. For every suggestion you dismissed, every idea you belittled, every time you made me feel small, I built something bigger, something that helps people. Mom, Audrey touched my hand, tears in her eyes. The hospital board has reviewed all materials, I continued, addressing the reporters now. Dr. Stone's consulting firm will continue working with Metropolitan General, implementing necessary changes, including new leadership for the cardiology department. You're firing me? Jonah asked quietly. No. You're being offered a position as a staff physician under new management. Your surgical skills were never in question. Your leadership was. The reporters erupted with questions. Through the chaos, Jonah stepped around the table until he stood before me. I'm sorry, he said, voice cracking, not for losing my position or for the public humiliation. I'm sorry for not seeing you, really seeing you, all those years. Dad's crying, Gary muttered. I've never seen him cry. Avery, Jonah continued, you were never just my wife. You were always meant for more. I was too threatened to admit it. Autumn stood up. Dr. Stone, what happens now? I looked at my children's faces, at Eleanor's proud smile, at Jonah's tear-stained cheeks. Now we heal. Metropolitan General will implement reforms. Dr. Jonah will continue saving lives, under proper supervision. And I'll keep doing what I do best, fixing broken systems. And us? Jonah asked softly. There is no us anymore. I straightened my shoulders. But there can be peace, for the kids' sake. Speaking of kids, Gary stepped forward. We have something to say. Audrey joined him. We've watched both our parents these past months. One tried to hide mistakes and blame others. The other built something amazing and owned her truth. We choose truth, Gary finished. We choose Mom. The press conference ended shortly after, but Jonah lingered as the reporters filed out. Claire called, he said. Wanted to apologize for the mess. I told her you were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was too blind to see it. Water under the bridge, I replied, gathering my papers. The thing is... He hesitated. I need your help. Not as my ex-wife, but as Dr. Stone. Help me become better at my job. Please. I studied his face, the familiar wrinkles, the new humility in his eyes. Professional consultation only. My standard rates apply. Thank you. He turned to our children. I'm sorry I disappointed you both. I'd like to earn back your respect if you'll let me. Audrey hugged him briefly. Start by accepting Mom's brilliance. Really accepting it. Already have, he smiled sadly. The whole medical community has. After he left, Elena brought me coffee. You okay? Better than okay. I watched through the window as Jonah spoke with his lawyer. For the first time in forever, everything's exactly as it should be. Mom? Gary showed me his phone. You're trending again. But this time they're calling you both brave and brilliant. Imagine that, I smiled. A woman can be both. Autumn poked her head back in. Dr. Stone, Mayo Clinic is still waiting for your answer about that consulting offer. I looked at my children, my best friend, my new life stretching out before me. Tell them I'll review their proposal, right after I take my kids to dinner. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living your truth, out loud and unapologetically, while those who once diminished you watch you soar. Dr. Stone, your next appointment is here, my assistant called through the intercom. I closed the Mayo Clinic proposal on my desk and smoothed my blazer. Send them in. The door opened, revealing Jonah, clean-shaven, properly dressed, holding a thick folder, different from the broken man at the press conference 3 weeks ago. Thank you for seeing me, he said, taking a seat. I've prepared a complete overview of my surgical outcomes for your review. Professional and thorough, I noted, accepting the folder. I'm impressed. I learned from the best. He managed a small smile. The new department head is implementing your recommendations. It's humbling, being supervised by someone younger. A knock interrupted us. Audrey burst in, her college textbook clutched to her chest. Mom. Oh, hi, Dad. Come in, honey. I waved her forward. Your father and I were just finishing up. Actually, she hesitated. I wanted to talk to both of you. I'm changing my major to healthcare administration. Jonah's eyebrows shot up. But you were set on art history. Yeah, well, watching Mom build something amazing made me realize what I really want. She turned to me. Would Dr. Stone consider an intern? My phone buzzed. Eleanor's text read, Turn on the news now. I grabbed the remote, flicking on the office TV. A familiar face filled the screen, Claire speaking at a podium. As the new hospital compliance officer, she was saying, I'm committed to maintaining the high standards set by Dr. Stone's consultancy. Jonah let out a surprised laugh. She got the job. After everything? She was qualified, I said simply. Personal history doesn't negate professional capability. You taught me that. Mom! Gary appeared in the doorway still in his baseball uniform. Did you see? They're using your reforms as a model for other hospitals. I looked at my family gathered in my office. Not broken, just reorganized. Different, but maybe better. Dr. Stone, my assistant called again. Dorian Mann is on line 1. The medical conference committee wants to know if you'll deliver the keynote address. Audrey's eyes lit up. Can I help prepare your presentation? Actually, I smiled, I think it's time for Dr. Stone to share the spotlight. Jonah, your research on minimally invasive procedures could make an excellent addition. He blinked in surprise. You've read my research. I read everything that crosses my desk. Your methods are innovative, even if your management wasn't. Speaking of management, Gary pulled out his phone. Elena's downstairs with the contract for the new consulting firm. Stone and Associates. Partners, I corrected. Stone and Partners, because success isn't a solo achievement. Jonah stood, gathering his papers. I should go. Thank you for everything. Dad. Wait, Audrey called. We're getting dinner. Want to join us? As a family? He looked at me questioningly. I nodded. First, I said, I need you all to understand something. What happened between your father and me? The hurt, the betrayal, the secrets. That's over. But what we build now, that's up to us. No more lies, Gary asked. No more hiding, Jonah agreed. My assistant appeared one last time. Dr. Stone, they're ready for your video consultation with London General. Actually, I smiled, tell them we'll reschedule. I'm having dinner with my family. Later, at our favourite Italian restaurant, Eleanor joined us with the contracts. Audrey sketched logos on her napkin, while Gary debated medical ethics with Jonah. You know, Eleanor whispered, this isn't how revenge usually looks. Maybe revenge was never the point, I replied, watching my family, broken but healing, separate but connected. Maybe it was about becoming who we were always meant to be. Dr. Stone, a voice called from across the restaurant. Autumn Wolfe approached our table, notebook in hand. Any comment on the national adoption of your hospital reforms? I looked at my children's proud faces, at Jonah's quiet acceptance, at Eleanor's knowing smile. Actually, yes. Success isn't about destroying what's broken. It's about building something better from the pieces. Mom, Audrey touched my arm, your phone's buzzing. Mayo Clinic again. Let it go to voicemail, I said. Right now, I'm not Dr. Stone. I'm just Avery having dinner with my family. No, Jonah spoke up. You're both. You always were. We just didn't see it. To Dr. Stone, Gary raised his water glass. And to Mom, the same amazing woman finally seen. As glasses clinked and conversation flowed, I realized something profound. The greatest victory wasn't in proving Jonah wrong or becoming Dr. Stone. It was in finally, completely becoming myself. Mother, professional, survivor, pioneer. And that was better than revenge could ever be. So, Audrey grinned, pulling out her laptop. About that internship, the future stretched before us, not perfect, but real. Not what I'd planned, but somehow exactly right. Because sometimes the happy ending isn't about getting even. It's about getting free.
I stared at the divorce papers on my kitchen counter, the morning sun streaming through the window, making the words, irreconcilable differences, seem to glow mockingly. My perfectly manicured hands, always kept pristine to match Henry's executive wife expectations, trembled as I reached for my coffee mug. My name is Grace, and until 20 minutes ago, I thought I was living the perfect life. You've become predictable, Henry had said, standing in our marble-floored foyer with his designer briefcase in hand. I need someone who challenges me, who excites me. You're a boring housewife, Grace. The words still rang in my ears as I mechanically wiped invisible crumbs from our spotless granite countertop. 12 years of marriage reduced to a single word. Boring. My phone buzzed. Whitney's name flashed on the screen. Tell me you're not still cleaning, she said when I answered. I'm not cleaning, I lied, putting down the cloth. Liar, I can hear you straightening things. Stop it and let me come over. I glanced at the clock, 9:15 a.m. Don't you have work? My best friend's husband just asked for a divorce. Work can wait. As we hold this moment of tension, we're collecting viewer locations for our community map. City, state, country, whatever you're comfortable sharing. And if you want daily journeys of justice, that subscribe button is waiting. Let's continue. 30 minutes later, Whitney sat across from me at my kitchen island, her dark eyes fixed on my face as I recounted the morning's events. "He actually said boring housewife?" she asked, incredulous. "The same man whose company would have gone bankrupt 3 years ago if you hadn't secretly invested your inheritance?" I shushed her, though we were alone. "He doesn't know about that. Nobody does, except you and Blaze." "Maybe it's time he found out." I shook my head. "It doesn't matter now." My phone buzzed again. A text from my sister Ella. "Can we talk? It's important." "Ignore it," Whitney advised, but I was already opening the message. "It's Ella. She never texts me this early." "Grace?" Whitney's tone held a warning I couldn't quite understand. My phone rang. Ella calling now. I answered on speaker. "Grace?" Ella's voice sounded strange, guilty. "I need to tell you something. I've been seeing Henry." The world tilted sideways. My pristine kitchen, with its carefully arranged copper pots and color-coded spice rack, suddenly felt like a stage set, artificial and hollow. "How long?" The words came out surprisingly steady. 6 months. A pause. "We're in love." Whitney reached across the counter and gripped my hand. I stared at our joined fingers, noticing how my wedding ring caught the light. "Does Mom know?" I asked, though I wasn't sure why that mattered. She thinks it's for the best. Says maybe it was meant to be this way. You know how you've always been so traditional? Traditional, boring. The synonyms piled up. "I have to go," I said, and hung up. Whitney watched me carefully. "Grace?" I stood up, walked to my carefully organized desk, and pulled out a leather portfolio. Inside were documents Blaze had drawn up years ago, papers that proved my quiet involvement in Henry's company, my signature on loans that had saved his family's legacy. "Call Blaze," I told Whitney. "Tell him it's time to withdraw everything." "Everything?" I nodded, finally removing my wedding ring. "Henry wants excitement? Let's see how exciting bankruptcy can be." Whitney's smile was slow and fierce. "There's my girl." I looked around at my perfect kitchen, at the life I'd built around Henry's needs and wants. In our bedroom upstairs, a locked trunk held my old art supplies, dreams I'd packed away when Henry said a corporate wife needed to focus on networking, not painting. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said, running my finger along the counter's edge. "He's right. I did become boring. I made myself boring for him. So, what are you going to do about it?" I picked up my phone and typed a quick message to Blaze. "Meeting tomorrow, bringing everything." I'm going to remember who I was before I became Mrs. Henry Pierce. I opened a drawer and pulled out a real estate magazine I'd been hiding, starting with buying that gallery space on Mason Street I've had my eye on. Whitney raised her eyebrows. "The one Henry said was a waste of money?" "That's the one." I smiled, and for the first time that morning, it felt real. Let's see how boring things get when I stop being the perfect wife and start being myself. My phone buzzed again, Henry this time. I declined the call and turned off my phone. "Want to help me clean out my art studio?" I asked Whitney. She looked confused. "You don't have an art studio." I grabbed my keys. "Not yet, but I will." And Henry's about to learn that his boring housewife has been anything but boring all along. The family dinner table had never felt so small. My mother sat across from me, hands folded primly over her designer napkin, while my father studied his wine glass as if it held the secrets of the universe. Between them sat Ella, wearing the guilty expression of a child caught stealing cookies, except what she'd stolen was my husband. "I just don't understand why you're being so difficult about this, Grace," my mother said, cutting her chicken into precise squares. "These things happen in the best families." "These things?" I echoed, my fork clattering against my plate. My husband and sister having an affair is just these things to you? Well, my father finally spoke, still not meeting my eyes. Henry has always been more compatible with Ella's energy. I felt my chest tighten. Compatible with her energy? Dad, I've been married to him for 12 years. And maybe that's long enough, my mother interjected smoothly. You've always been so settled, dear. Perhaps this is an opportunity for you to find someone more your speed. Ella reached across the table trying to touch my hand. I pulled back before she could. Grace, please, we didn't mean for this to happen. It just did. Just happened? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. Did you just happen to fall into his bed too? Grace? My mother's scandalized tone made me want to scream. No, Mom, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how my perfect little sister decided my husband was just another thing of mine she wanted to try on. Ella's face crumpled. That's not fair. We're in love. Love? I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Was it love when you helped him pick out my birthday present last month? Was it love when you sat next to me at Sunday dinners, knowing you were sleeping with my husband? You don't understand, Ella pleaded. Henry needs someone who can keep up with him, someone who isn't boring. I finished for her. Yeah, I've heard that one already. My phone buzzed in my purse, probably Whitney checking on me. I'd promised to call her after this disaster of a dinner. Sit down, Grace, my father commanded, using his courtroom voice. We're trying to handle this like adults. Like adults? I pulled out my phone, checking the notification. It wasn't Whitney. It was an email from Blaze confirming our meeting tomorrow. You want to handle this like adults? Fine. Let's talk about how Henry's company is doing. Ella's face went pale. What do you mean? Oh, didn't he tell you? The family business isn't quite as stable as it appears. My mother's fork paused halfway to her mouth. What are you talking about? Henry said everything was fine. Did he? I smiled, remembering all the board meetings I'd sat through silently, all the late-night number crunching I'd done while Henry was at his networking events, with my sister, apparently. Interesting. Grace? Ella's voice wavered. What did you do? Nothing yet, but tomorrow I'm going to do exactly what a boring housewife would never do. My father's lawyer instincts finally kicked in. You're not making sense, Grace. What involvement could you possibly have in Henry's company? I grabbed my purse and stood up. You'll find out soon enough. But here's a preview. Remember that inheritance from Grandma Rose? The one everyone thought I spent on renovating our house? The color drained from my mother's face. Grace, you didn't. I did. Every penny went into saving Henry's precious family legacy. And now I'm taking it all back. Ella jumped up. You can't. Henry's worked so hard. To what? Build a company he could only keep afloat because of his boring wife's money? I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Ella, those Jimmy Choos you're wearing? The ones Henry bought you last month? I paid for those too. My mother called after me as I walked out, but I didn't stop. In my car, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. My phone buzzed again. Whitney. How'd it go? She asked when I answered. About as well as expected. They think I'm being unreasonable. Screw them. Did you tell them about the company? I started the engine. Gave them a hint. They'll know everything by this time tomorrow anyway. Good. Hey, I drove by that gallery space earlier. It's still available. I pulled out of my parents' driveway, catching a glimpse of Ella watching from the window. Schedule a viewing for next week. After all, I'm about to have some capital to invest. That's my girl. Want to grab a drink? I thought about my perfect kitchen at home, where I'd spent years making myself smaller, quieter, more boring. Yes, but not at our usual place. I'm done being predictable. Whitney laughed. Lead the way, boss. Oh, and Grace, you're gonna be okay. Looking in my rearview mirror at my parents' house growing smaller, I realized I already was. I know, for the first time in years, I actually know that for sure. Are you absolutely sure about this? Blaze asked, his reading glasses perched on the edge of his nose as he reviewed the paperwork spread across his desk. Once we start this process, there's no turning back. I leaned forward in my chair, my voice steady. I've never been more sure of anything. Whitney, sitting beside me, squeezed my hand as Blaze began explaining the procedure. The loans will be called in first thing tomorrow morning. Given the company's current cash flow situation, they won't be able to cover them. How long until Henry notices? Whitney asked. Hours, Blaze said, signing the last document. Maybe minutes. The CFO will alert him as soon as the notifications come in. My phone rang, Henry's face appearing on the screen. I showed it to Blaze, who checked his watch and grinned. Make that seconds. I declined the call. Within moments, 3 text messages popped up. Grace, what's happening? The bank is calling in our loans. Answer your phone. Should I be enjoying this so much? I asked Whitney. Absolutely, she replied, just as my phone started ringing again. This time I answered and put it on speaker. Hello, Henry. What the hell is going on? His voice cracked with panic. The bank just called in every loan. They're saying the guarantor withdrew support. What did you do? Me? I examined my nails, still perfectly manicured, but now painted a bold red instead of his preferred nude. I'm just a boring housewife, remember? What could I possibly do? Grace. His tone shifted to the one he used when he thought I was being difficult. This isn't funny. We're talking about my family's company. No, I corrected him. We're talking about the company I saved 3 years ago, the one I've been quietly supporting while you took all the credit. Silence filled the line. Then, what are you talking about? Blaze cleared his throat. Mr. Pierce, this is Blaze Thornton. I'm Mrs. Pierce's attorney. Perhaps we should schedule a meeting to discuss the situation? You have a lawyer? Henry's voice rose an octave. Since when do you have a lawyer? Since I decided to stop being boring, I replied. Oh, and Henry, how's Ella doing? Have you told her about the company's real financial situation yet? More silence, then the sound of him swallowing hard. Grace, please, let's talk about this. We are talking. In fact, I'm finally saying all the things I should have said years ago. The company will collapse without those loans, he pleaded. People will lose their jobs. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with my sister. Whitney high-fived me as Henry sputtered on the other end of the line. I'll be at the house in 20 minutes, he announced. No, you won't, I replied, because I'm not there, and I won't be there. If you want to discuss this, you can do it through Blaze, through your lawyer. Grace, we're still married. For now. I nodded at Blaze, who pulled out another stack of papers. Check your email in about 5 minutes. You'll find divorce papers waiting. You're destroying everything over one mistake? One mistake? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You mean the 6-month affair with my sister? The years of making me feel small? Or the mistake of assuming I was too boring to notice what was really going on? The office door opened and Blaze's assistant stepped in, handing him a note. He read it and smiled. Mr. Pierce, Blaze interrupted, I've just been informed that your company's stock has dropped 15% in the last hour. I suggest you focus on that rather than harassing my client. Grace. Henry's voice turned soft, pleading. Baby, please, we can work this out. I'll end things with Ella. I'll do whatever you want. That's the thing, Henry. I don't want anything from you anymore. I reached for the disconnect button. Oh, and one more thing. I bought that gallery space on Mason Street. You know, the one you said was a waste of money. Turns out I can afford it now that I'm not bankrolling your lifestyle. I ended the call as Henry was mid-protest. Within seconds, my phone lit up with messages from Ella. "What are you doing?" "Henry's freaking out. Please don't do this to him." I blocked her number. "Well," Blaze said, gathering the papers into a neat pile. "That was satisfying to watch. The divorce papers will be delivered to his office within the hour." Whitney stood up, grabbing her purse. "I say this calls for champagne. That new rooftop bar downtown?" I checked my watch, 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. The old Grace would never drink in the middle of the day. The old Grace would be home preparing Henry's favorite dinner, hoping to smooth things over. You know what? Champagne sounds perfect. As we walked out of Blaze's office, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it to find a message from Henry's mother, Deborah. "We need to talk. There are things you should know." I showed the message to Whitney, who raised an eyebrow. "Are you going to respond?" I thought for a moment, then typed back, "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., the Mason Street Gallery." "Might as well show her where her son's money really went," I said, hitting send. "After all, I'm done hiding in the shadows." The Mason Street Gallery's empty space echoed with my footsteps as I walked through it, imagining where each painting would hang. The morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, creating patterns on the hardwood floors. A knock at the door interrupted my planning. Deborah stood there, looking less put together than I'd ever seen her. "You bought it," she said as I let her in, her eyes taking in the space. "Henry always said you'd never do it." Henry said a lot of things. I gestured to 2 folding chairs I'd brought. "Coffee?" She nodded, accepting the paper cup I offered. "The company's in chaos. The board called an emergency meeting last night. I know, Blaze keeps me updated." "Grace," Deborah's hands trembled slightly around her cup. "I'm not here to defend him. What Henry and Ella did was unconscionable. But there are things you don't know about Henry, about why he is the way he is." A harsh laugh escaped me. "Let me guess, he's actually the victim here?" "In some ways, yes." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos before showing me one I'd never seen. A young Henry, maybe 12, sporting a black eye. His father wasn't the man everyone thought he was. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that perfection, control, success, they weren't just goals for Henry, they were survival mechanisms." She swiped to another photo, this one of a broken window. "My husband had very specific ideas about what made a man successful. Failure wasn't an option." I sat back, processing this. That doesn't excuse what he did. No, it doesn't. But it might help you understand why the company means so much to him, why he's standing outside right now, trying to work up the courage to come in. My head snapped up. "What?" Deborah nodded toward the window. Sure enough, Henry stood on the sidewalk, looking lost in his rumpled suit, a far cry from his usual polished appearance. "Should I let him in?" I asked, not sure why I was even considering it. "That's up to you, but there's something else you should know." Deborah hesitated. "Ella's pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "She told Henry yesterday. That's why he's here. He's not handling it well." I walked to the window. Henry saw me and raised his hand in an uncertain wave. Against my better judgment, I went to the door and opened it. "You look terrible," I said as he approached. "I haven't slept." He stopped a few feet away. "Grace, save it. Your mother told me about Ella." He flinched. "I didn't know. I didn't know she would. Get pregnant? Funny how actions have consequences, isn't they?" "The company's falling apart," he said, his voice breaking. "Everything my grandfather built, everything I worked for." "Everything I saved," I corrected, "with my money, my inheritance." I know now." He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. I took you for granted. I made you feel small because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Of not being enough, of failing, of being like him. He glanced at his mother, who watched us silently. I became exactly what I feared most. A knock on the gallery window made us all turn. Ella stood there, her face streaked with tears. My sister, the one who used to braid my hair and share my secrets, now carrying my husband's child. "I'm not doing this," I said, turning away. "Grace, please," Ella called through the glass. "I need my sister. You should have thought of that 6 months ago." "I'm scared," she said, her voice muffled but clear enough. "Henry won't even talk to me now. Mom and Dad are furious. I don't know what to do." I looked at Deborah, who gave me a sad smile. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones who need us most. "That's not fair," I whispered. "No, it's not. But you're stronger than both of them combined. You always have been." I walked to the door again, my hand on the handle. "If I let you in, Ella, it's not forgiveness. I don't even know what it is." She nodded frantically. "I know. I can't do this alone." As I opened the door, Henry stepped forward. "Grace, about the company." "Stop." I held up my hand. "I'm not doing this for you, either of you. Whatever happens next, it happens on my terms." "What are your terms?" Henry asked. I looked around the gallery, my gallery, and thought about the scared little boy in those photos, the sister who used to be my best friend, and the woman I'd become while nobody was watching. "First, you both sit down and listen, really listen, to everything I have to say, everything I've been holding back. Then maybe we can talk about what happens next." Deborah stood up, gathering her purse. "I'll leave you to it." "Stay," I said, surprising myself. "I think we all need a witness for what comes next." The morning sun continued to paint patterns on the floor as we arranged our chairs in a circle, preparing for truths that had waited too long to be spoken. The silence in the gallery felt heavy as we sat in our makeshift circle. Ella kept wiping her eyes with her sleeve. Designer, probably another gift from Henry, while he stared at his expensive shoes. "Start at the beginning," I said to Ella. "I want to hear everything." She glanced at Henry before speaking. "It started at your anniversary party. Remember how you were busy organizing everything?" "You mean when I was making sure Henry's business partners were comfortable while he networked?" Henry winced. "Grace, no interrupting." I cut him off. "Go on, Ella." "Henry looked so lonely," she continued. "We started talking about you, actually, about how you'd changed since getting married. He said you used to be different, more spontaneous, more like you," I finished. She nodded miserably. "One thing led to another. We started meeting for coffee just to talk. Then dinners. Then you started sleeping with my husband." "I never meant to fall in love with him," Ella burst out. "It just happened." "Nothing just happens," Deborah interjected quietly. "We make choices." I turned to Henry. "Your turn. Tell me about the company, about what your father did." His jaw tightened. "That's not relevant." "It is if you want any chance of saving your grandfather's legacy." He stood up abruptly, pacing the empty gallery. "He used to lock me in the office when deals went bad. Said I needed to learn what failure felt like." His voice cracked. "Sometimes for hours, days, once." Ella gasped softly. This was clearly news to her. "The company was everything to him," Henry continued. "Success was the only language he spoke. When you came along, Grace, you were so different, so free, until I made you just like him." "You didn't make me anything," I said. "I chose to become what you needed, just like I'm choosing now to become what I need." "And what's that?" he asked. I gestured around the gallery. "This, art, creation, everything I gave up to be the perfect corporate wife." Ella shifted in her chair, one hand resting on her still flat stomach. I used to be so jealous of you, Grace. You had everything, the perfect marriage, the perfect life. Perfect? I laughed. I spent 12 years erasing myself. Do you know what I did with my inheritance? All of it went to saving Henry's company. Not because he asked. He never knew to ask. I did it because I thought that's what a good wife would do. Why didn't you tell me? Henry whispered. Would it have mattered? Would you have seen me differently, or just the money? Deborah cleared her throat. Henry, tell her what happened at the board meeting yesterday. He sank back into his chair. They want to sell the whole company, cut their losses before it gets worse. To whom? Marcus Industrial. They've been trying to buy us out for years. I knew the company. They'd approached me privately months ago, sensing the weakness in Henry's position. And I said no. I'd rather watch it burn than sell my grandfather's legacy. Your grandfather's legacy, I repeated. What about your father's legacy? The abuse? The control? Is that what you want to preserve? The question hung in the air. Ella started crying again, silently. I'm 12 weeks along, she said suddenly. The baby, it's due in spring. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the perfect makeup and expensive clothes, she looked terrified, young, lost. What do you want, Ella? Not what Henry wants, not what our parents want. You, she hesitated. I want my sister back, even if I don't deserve her. And you? I asked Henry. What do you want? He met my eyes for the first time. I want to be better than my father, but I don't know how. I pulled out my phone and dialed Blaze's number, putting it on speaker. Grace? He answered. Everything okay? Those papers you were holding for me. The ones about Marcus Industrial. Can you send them over? The buyout proposal? Sure. Now? Yes. And Blaze? Include the condition we discussed about the board seat. Henry's head snapped up. What board seat? I ended the call. Marcus offered me a position on their board. Part of the deal would be keeping the company's core team intact, but with new management. You've been planning this? Ella asked. I've been preparing. There's a difference. I stood up, walking to the windows. Here's what's going to happen. The company will sell to Marcus. Henry, you'll get therapy. Real therapy, not the corporate coaching kind. Ella, you'll move in with Mom and Dad until the baby comes. And you? Henry asked. I turned back to them, feeling stronger than I had in years. I'm going to open this gallery. I'm going to paint again, and I'm going to stop being the person everyone else needs me to be. Will you ever forgive us? Ella's voice was small. I don't know, I answered honestly. But I'm willing to find out who we all are beyond this moment. That's the best I can offer right now. The morning had turned to afternoon, the sun now casting different shadows across the floor. None of us had moved, each lost in thoughts of what came next, what had to change, and who we might become in the aftermath of everything broken. You should see these therapy bills, Whitney said, dropping into my favorite armchair in the half-furnished gallery office. Henry's really going all in. I looked up from the canvas I was working on, my first painting in over a decade. How do you know about his therapy bills? Deborah told me. We get coffee now, if you can believe it. She grinned at my surprised expression. What? Your mother-in-law's actually pretty cool when she's not trying to maintain the perfect family facade. Ex-mother-in-law, I corrected, adding another stroke of blue to the canvas. Speaking of which, Whitney pulled an envelope from her bag. The final divorce papers came through today. Blaze asked me to deliver them. My hand trembled slightly as I took the envelope. Just like that, 12 years of marriage ends with a manila envelope? And a much healthier bank account, Whitney reminded me. The Marcus deal went through? Yesterday. Henry signed everything without argument. I set down my paintbrush. It's strange. He's actually keeping his therapy appointments, talking about his father, trying to what? Be better? Whitney's tone was skeptical. Maybe. Deborah says he's different in sessions, more open, raw. I walked to the window, watching people pass by on the street below. He brought me something yesterday. Oh? I went to my desk and pulled out a small, worn notebook. His childhood journal, the things his father did, Whitney. I knew it was bad, but reading it, don't you dare feel sorry for him, Whitney warned. Not exactly, but I understand more now about why he became who he became. I opened the journal to a dog-eared page. Listen to this. Dad says crying is for women and failures. I haven't cried in 47 days. He was 9 when he wrote that. Whitney's expression softened slightly. Okay, that's pretty messed up. Still doesn't excuse what he did to you. No, it doesn't. But I hesitated. Yesterday, I saw him with Ella at her doctor's appointment. Wait, what? Why were you there? She asked me to come. She was scared about some test results. I picked up my paintbrush again, needing something to do with my hands. You should have seen him, Whitney. When the heartbeat came through on the monitor, he actually cried, in public. Then he apologized for crying. And how did that make you feel? Honestly? Sad. Sad for that little boy who learned to equate emotions with weakness. Sad for my sister, who's terrified of becoming a mother while navigating all this mess. Sad for myself, for not seeing it all sooner. A knock at the gallery door interrupted us. Deborah stood there with 2 takeout bags. I brought lunch, she said, entering. Oh, you're painting again. It's beautiful, Grace. I looked at the canvas. An abstract piece full of blues and storms and light breaking through. It's helping me process everything. Henry saw his father yesterday, Deborah said, unpacking sandwiches. For the first time since therapy started. Whitney raised an eyebrow. How'd that go? About as well as you'd expect, but he stood his ground, told him everything he should have said years ago. Deborah's hands shook slightly. I should have left that man decades ago. Maybe if I had... You can't think like that, I said, surprising myself by taking her hand. We all made the choices we thought we had to make. Speaking of choices, Whitney interjected, have you decided about Ella's offer? I nodded. I'm going to help her set up the nursery, not because I've forgiven her, but because she's still my sister, and that baby is still my niece or nephew. And Henry? He's doing the work, actually doing it, not just playing the part like he used to. I walked to my painting, adding a streak of golden yellow breaking through the storm clouds. He asked me something interesting yesterday. What? Both women asked simultaneously. He asked if I would consider teaching an art therapy class at his treatment center, said creating something might help others who are stuck in destructive patterns. Whitney whistled low. That's surprisingly insightful for Henry. I know, that's why I said yes. Deborah stood up suddenly, walking to the window. I filed for divorce this morning. The announcement hung in the air for a moment before I found my voice. Are you okay? She turned back, and for the first time, I saw real strength in her smile. I'm better than okay. I'm free. And watching you rebuild your life, Grace, it gave me the courage to finally rebuild mine. I looked around my gallery, still empty of artwork except for my single painting, but full of possibility. We're all rebuilding, aren't we? Speaking of rebuilding, Whitney said, pulling out her phone. Ella texted me. She's having a girl. A girl, I repeated softly, turning back to my painting. I added another streak of light breaking through the clouds. Maybe she'll grow up knowing it's okay to feel everything, to be everything. Maybe we all will, Deborah said, The afternoon light filtered through the gallery windows, catching the wet paint on my canvas and making it gleam. Outside, the world kept moving, people rushing past unaware of the small revelations happening inside these walls. But in here, something was shifting, healing, rebuilding, not just on my canvas, but in all of us. The gallery hummed with conversation as people moved between my paintings. Opening night had drawn a larger crowd than I'd expected, and the red dots indicating sales were already appearing beside several pieces. "This is incredible," Whitney whispered, appearing at my elbow with 2 glasses of champagne. "Have you seen the guest list? Half the city's art scene is here." I took a glass, my hand steadier than I'd expected. "I keep waiting to wake up." "Well, don't wake up yet. Your sister just arrived." I turned to see Ella standing in the doorway, her 7-month pregnancy bump evident under a flowing dress. She looked uncertain, clutching an envelope. "I'll give you 2 a minute," Whitney said, squeezing my arm before disappearing into the crowd. Ella made her way over, carefully navigating between guests. "This is amazing, Grace. Your work. It's like seeing inside your soul." "Thank you for coming," I said, meaning it. "I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure you'd want me to." She held out the envelope. "But I needed to give you this." Inside was a sonogram picture with "It's a Girl" written across the top in silver ink. Below it, Ella had written, "Her middle name will be Grace if you'll let me." "Ella, I know it doesn't fix anything," she rushed on, "but I want her to know about her aunt, about strength and creativity and forgiveness, even when it's not deserved." Before I could respond, a murmur went through the crowd. Henry had arrived, looking different than I'd ever seen him, casual in jeans and a simple button-down, his therapy-mandated beard softening his usually sharp features. "Should I go?" Ella asked quietly. "No," I said. "Stay." Henry approached us, holding something behind his back. "Your work is extraordinary, Grace. It always was. I'm sorry I never said that before." He brought his hands forward, revealing a familiar wooden box, my old art supplies from college, the ones he'd convinced me to pack away. "I found this in the attic," he said. "I thought maybe you'd want it back." I opened the box, finding my old brushes, the specialty paints, the sketches I'd hidden away. "You kept these?" "I kept everything. Even when I was trying to make you smaller, some part of me knew I was wrong." He glanced at Ella, then back to me. "The therapy's helping. I'm learning to see things differently." "I heard you're speaking at support groups now," I said. He nodded. "Talking about Dad, about patterns of control. It's hard, but it feels right." A gallery assistant appeared at my elbow. "Ms. Grace, the art critic from the Tribune would like to speak with you." "Go," Ella said. "It's your night." I looked between them, my sister, my ex-husband, both broken and healing in their own ways. "Come find me later, both of you?" They nodded, and I followed the assistant to where a small group of critics and collectors had gathered around my centerpiece, a large canvas depicting a woman emerging from shadows, her face turned toward light. "The emotion in this piece is raw," the Tribune critic said. "The interplay between darkness and illumination. What inspired it?" I thought about the past year, the betrayal, the anger, the unexpected allies, the slow journey toward understanding. "It's about becoming," I said, "about choosing light even when darkness feels safer." "Remarkable," he murmured, making notes on his phone. The evening continued to unfold like a dream. Paintings sold, connections were made, and somewhere between conversations with collectors and critics, I found myself in a quiet corner with Deborah. "Henry's father showed up at my house yesterday," she said, watching her son across the room. "Wanted to talk things through." "What did you do?" "I closed the door in his face." She smiled. 20 years ago, I would have let him in, tried to keep the peace, but watching you this past year, it taught me something about standing my ground. Look at us, I laughed softly, all becoming different versions of ourselves. Better versions, she corrected. Whitney appeared again, practically bouncing. Grace, the Times reviewer just called your work a masterclass in emotional authenticity. And that big piece in the center, The Woman in Light, it just sold for double the asking price. What? To who? To me, came a voice behind us. We turned to see Henry. Not to keep, he added quickly. For the therapy center, people need to see it, to know that change is possible. I felt tears threatening, but held them back. Thank you. No, he said quietly. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. Across the room, Ella was talking to a young couple, one hand resting on her belly. Deborah stood straighter, free from decades of pretense. Whitney beamed with pride. And I stood in my gallery, surrounded by my art, my truth on display for everyone to see. Grace, the assistant was back. They're ready for your speech. I took a deep breath, looking around at my gathered family, broken, rebuilt, different, but still somehow family. Go on, Whitney urged. Show them who you've become. I stepped toward the center of the gallery, toward the light, ready to tell my story, not just through my paintings, but through my own voice, finally strong enough to be heard. The autumn breeze carried the sound of laughter through the gallery's open doors as I adjusted the newest painting on the wall, a small piece showing a baby's hand reaching toward light. Below it, a simple placard read, Grace Mitchell, for my niece, Emma Grace. It's perfect, Ella said from behind me, bouncing a fussy Emma against her shoulder. Though I might be biased. You're definitely biased, I teased, reaching for my niece. Come here, little one. Let's give your mama a break. Emma settled instantly in my arms, her tiny fingers wrapping around my paint-stained thumb. The gallery had become her second home, a place where our patchwork family gathered regularly, healing old wounds and creating new memories. Henry's session went well today, Ella said, sinking into a nearby chair. The art therapy program is really taking off. I know, I had to add another class. I smiled, remembering the skepticism when we'd first proposed combining art with trauma therapy. Yesterday, one of the participants finally painted his childhood home. He cried the whole time, but afterward, he looked lighter somehow. The gallery door chimed as Whitney entered, carrying coffee and her usual stack of newspapers. You made the art section again, she announced, spreading out the paper. Local Artist Pioneers Revolutionary Trauma Recovery Program. That's not why we do it, I reminded her, but couldn't help feeling proud. Speaking of doing things, Ella said hesitantly, I have news. I've enrolled in nursing school. I turned to her, surprised. Really? What brought this on? Being in the hospital with Emma, seeing those nurses, they made such a difference. And I thought maybe it's time I made a difference too. Be someone she can be proud of. The door chimed again. This time it was Deborah, looking younger than she had in years, followed by Henry. Sorry we're late, Deborah said. The meeting with the divorce lawyers ran long, but it's done. Finally done. Henry stepped forward, taking Emma from my arms with practiced ease. Dad signed everything. No contests, no fights. How did that feel? I asked them both. Like freedom, Deborah answered immediately. Like ending a cycle, Henry added, making funny faces at Emma. Speaking of which, I have something to show you, Grace. He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo of a teenage boy's artwork, dark, angry strokes across canvas. This is Marcus from yesterday's session. His father? He's like mine was. But look at this. He swiped to another image, the same boy's artwork from today. hints of light breaking through the darkness. He's starting to see a way out. Just like his teacher did, Whitney said pointedly. I walked to the gallery's front window, taking in the view of Mason Street. The sold signs on my paintings had become a regular sight, but it wasn't the sales that mattered most. It was what happened in between, the healing, the growth, the quiet moments of breakthrough. Grace, Ella called softly. There's something else. I met someone. He's a doctor at the hospital where I'm doing my pre-nursing volunteer work. And, I prompted, noting the blush on her cheeks. And he asked me out, but I wanted to talk to you first, because after everything, I crossed the room and took her hands. You don't need my permission to live your life, Ella. I know, but I need you to know that I understand now about respect, about boundaries, about doing things the right way. Henry cleared his throat. I've been seeing someone too. My therapist referred me to her therapist first. We're taking it very slowly, doing the work separately and together. I looked at my ex-husband, really looked at him. The arrogant executive was gone, replaced by someone more real, more human. Good, I said simply. You deserve a chance to do things right this time. Emma started fussing again, and we all instinctively moved to comfort her. Her father, her mother, her aunt, her grandmother, and honorary Aunt Whitney. A family redefined and rebuilt. I have something to show you all too, I said, leading them to my workshop in the back. On an easel sat my newest piece, a large canvas showing a group of people, their faces turned toward each other, light emanating from their connections rather than from above. Is that us? Deborah asked, stepping closer. It's called redemption, I explained, because that's what we've all found, in our own ways. Even me? Henry asked quietly. Especially you. I touched the canvas gently. We all deserve the chance to rewrite our stories. Emma cooed suddenly, reaching toward the painting with tiny fingers, leaving a perfect handprint in wet paint. Oh no, Ella started, but I laughed. Leave it, I said. It's perfect. Sometimes the most beautiful art comes from unexpected moments. We stood there together, watching the sunlight play across the canvas, across Emma's tiny handprint, a symbol of everything we'd lost, everything we'd gained, and everything we were still becoming. Not an ending, but a continuation, a story still being written with every brushstroke, every choice, every moment of grace.